Your sad devotion to that ancient Jedi religion has not helped you conjure up the stolen data tapes, or given you enough clairvoyance to find the rebels' hidden fortress.
I find your lack of faith disturbing. Do you have a boner right now?
What? No! Harder! Harder! Oh, come on, that's it? Look at how you're dressed. All that black leather, the mask, frickin' tease.
Oh my god, stop. You're ruining this for me.
Welcome to another episode of the Rolling 20s. We are the show that's about as powerful as a critical hit from a white mage. I am Jeremy.
Steve. 2 points.
B.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others on the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and on Stitcher. You can like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. At the beginning of the show, you heard music by Machinae Supremacy. You can find most of their discography for free download at machinaesupremacy.com, with their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. The clip you heard at the very beginning of the show is Darth Vader is Too Good at Force Choking by Dorkly. You'll get it when you hear it. What's the day like?
Oh, not too bad.
I'm a little more awake.
Yeah,
same here.
I got caught up in Doctor Who.
Oh.
I have not caught up to the latest episode of that. I admit, my morning was wasted watching anime parodies. I got really, really sucked into this whole Dragon Ball Z Kai abridged. And I had to stop myself from actually waking up my wife, actually. Was that good? And then for some reason I watched the 20-minute Attack on Titan parody, which was actually funny. It made the show watchable. And then for some reason after that, I got sucked into a Sword Art Online parody. Episode 4 nearly made me want to fucking scream.
Well, I have to admit, I've never been a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, but the Yu-Gi-Oh abridged made it watchable, so, you know.
I could quote a few things, but it would just fall on deaf ears right now. Just trust me, at some point it'll probably be a clip before the show.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. My God, it has been a group of days. For those of you wondering why there has been a show in a little behind the scenes, V was off. We sat down, we talked for 4 hours. At the end of that 4 hours, I discovered I had not started the recorder because I had 3 hours worth of sleep. So if there's a lesson to be learned here, let the fucking guy sleep. Other than that, it's been okay. We're calling an audible. I know the discussion is supposed to be the first volume of the Annihilation story from Marvel from about 6 years ago. But there's a couple things going on in the comic book and geek world that I think requires a little more attention. Before then, we're going to follow some information we got off of a listener, and we're going to slim back the Kickstarter corner, simply because it does seem to be dragging on a bit. There's a few projects still, though, that has a lot of interest, at least I think personally to the members of the show. The first one is the fact that the Indiegogo for Jibo, the world's first family robot, ended finally.
I was actually seeing commercials for that.
Really?
Actually, I need to check myself. It has 7 days left in it. It actually ends on September 14th. This one has 4,653 backers. The goal to get the prototype rolling is $100,000. Currently sits at $1,963,087. Now, where did you see a commercial for this thing?
Well, I think it was online, but...
Yeah, I saw a YouTube commercial.
Yeah.
I didn't know it had gotten that far. I've seen the promo videos that was attached to the Indiegogo, but I haven't seen any commercials. Then again, my interest in YouTube kind of begins and ends in 30-minute spats.
Yeah, well, it was like tagged on at the beginning of something. I was just like, what the? No way.
Well, that tells you that they know they're getting the money and they're already starting. What probably happened was they found out what they're getting in backers and how many people bought it, and they took that information straight to a bank and said, give us money because we're going to make money.
Yeah.
So they probably got a loan and got started early. Wouldn't surprise me if some of the early backers get their Zebos like almost as soon as this thing ends. But hey, congratulations to them. At least they're coming out with a new piece of technology.
Yep.
Right? Robots!
Creepy, but yeah.
I don't think it's creepy. It's one of those things where, if you're about to get busy with your lady, you turn it around, and then suddenly the servo motors whir it back around. What are you about to do?
Well, that's the thing, because, like, they had one particular thing right at the very end where this article of clothing comes flying over and lands on the thing, and I'm just like, oh no, they didn't. And then it's this little girl pulling her sock off it, and I'm just like, oh god. Oh, I just burned myself. But
are you kidding? I just really want to hear that moment where it's about to watch two people have sex. I don't think that goes in her USB port like that. I wonder if there will be an X-rated option where it finally just says, whoa, and turns itself around.
There are dirty versions of everything.
Isn't there always?
Rule 34.
Yep.
Yeah. We also have Star Trek Axanar by Axanar Productions. This one ended on August 24th. It had 8,548 backers at the end. It had a goal of $100,000. It finally seeded at $638,471. So there will be a new TV show based on the original series chronology. Well, remember, this is based on the original version of the show where they, at one episode, just in one episode, they referenced the Battle of Axanar. So this is going to follow the story of Garth of Izar and this battle, which is supposed to be a pivotal point in Federation history. Let me see. I don't know the chronology of Star Trek very well. I know it has Richard Hatch from the original Battlestar Galactica and Tony Todd, who's played several roles over Star Trek history.
Don't recognize either of those names, actually. Well, actually, no, I recognize Tony Todd, but not what he's been in exactly.
Tony Todd is one of those guys, it's hard to explain him other than he's black, but I'm sure he's one of those guys that as soon as he spoke, you just go, oh, that guy!
Probably. I did that with a lot of people.
Yeah. Something else I've been following with personal zeal is the Cyberith Virtualizer. The immersive virtual reality gaming rig by Cyberith of Herzogenburg, Austria. It just sounds like I'm about to upchuck something every time I try and say that. It is a rig that's meant to go with a VR headset so that you can get immersive. You can move your character forward by running in place or jumping up and down. You can do that in this. You can even sit in it. At the end, it had 577 backers. It ended on August 31st. Had a goal of $250,000 to get started. Final tally was $361,452.
And that's impressive just for the amount of backers. That's a lot of money they put out.
Well, part of that had to do with the retail cost of this thing, because a virtualizer without the sensors to go with it would be $600. The base pack, the early bird package was $699. I think the standard retail looks like it's going to be $799 for this thing. This is one of those things that's it's easy to laugh at just looking at it from the side, but if it creates as immersive of an effect as it lauds, I mean, this could be the beginning of personal VR stations all over the place.
And no troll beating.
Oh, come on, the troll beating is necessary. It should absolutely occur in every game you play, just so you learn a goddamn lesson. As much as I make fun of it, I'm still curious to try and stand in one of these things and make sure that they work for somebody of my size. I am not as slim as the creator of this thing. So I wonder if there will be a US version, aka European triple extra large.
Didn't they have to release a new version of the Wii Fit for the US? Because we kept breaking them.
Yeah, they released a new board, which I believe was just a plank with a sensor in the bottom. Probably a couple cinder blocks as well.
Oh my.
Well, it's almost as bad when you think about what we did to Disneyland. They had to deepen the trenches in the It's a Small World ride because about 7-8 years ago, it kept bottoming out because of our fat asses riding in it.
Does not surprise me.
Sad but true. We also have Under the Dog by Creative Intelligence Arts of Tokyo, Japan. We've been talking on and off about this. A new anime project that's looking for crowdfunding to get it started. Although it looked like it had been lagging behind for quite a while, if you remember.
Yeah.
Well, it actually ended 7 hours ago. It ended earlier today. It had 12,157 backers at the end. The goal to get it started was $580,000. Current tally was $878,028.
That's a nice jump.
I actually saw some articles run about this on IO9 and Kotaku about a week and a half ago. So it looks like they did what they needed to finally get some more attention.
Yep.
I wonder if this will just be released digitally, or if they're going to go and see if they can find a producer now that they've got the money to start it. Or maybe a large studio. Who knows? The last one I have is a newer one, and one I am not sure is going to succeed. It is Jet Fighter Cockpit in Your Living Room by Lucas Homola of the Czech Republic. What he's created is this series of paper cutouts, and when you fold everything together in the way it's instructed to, you recreate the cockpit of a jet fighter. It's designed to work in conjunction with a large screen or wraparound TV for an immersive home video game experience. About as immersive as you can get when everything's a cardboard cutout. So it's all kind of arguable, but it's really designed. One of their examples is used in conjunction with an Oculus. I don't think you want to use this with an Oculus, because you could do that with a chair, frankly. It's true. This one actually has 16 days to go. It ends on September 24th. Has 36 backers. The goal to get this started is £15,000 UK. Currently has £1,400 UK. And actually, some of the stuff he's asking for makes that amount pretty easy to come by, because for £299, you get the physical early bird of the jet fighter cockpit. For £500, which is, I think, somewhere around $680, you actually get the standard retail version of this thing. So these are expensive cutouts. It's that question of, do you want to pay $500 if you're going to use this in conjunction with an Oculus and basically never look at it anyway? Well, it's supposed to be a full-size cockpit, which means this thing would take a lot of room up in a game room or living room.
Yeah, no kidding.
Are you getting anything out of this if you're going to use it with VR? If you're using it with a large TV, still, are you getting anything out of it? Because the first thing you're doing is trying to look past this thing. Unless your TV is up high, you're going to look over the center console all the time just going, wait, it's down low. Wait, it's down low. I can't see. And then they want to make expanded versions, so it looks like an SR-71 Blackbird or F-18 fighter, a space fighter, and a couple other things. They're also talking about trying to add canopies to this thing. I think this needs to be fleshed out a little more. This would be great for flight sim enthusiasts. For everybody else, this would be fucking frustrating. That's a personal opinion. I could be wrong.
I'm envisioning the space requirements, but if you had that to spare, it could be fun.
Could be. It's still not quite my thing, though, because I'm still trying to stare at the screen, not this thing.
Right.
So I could be overthinking this. However, I think I have a good argument to make. However, I usually think I have a good argument to make. So don't quote me on that as a general policy. From there, we will go into video game news. And the first story I got is actually about one of our favorite subjects of the past couple of weeks, the Oculus Rift. It's been released via GameSpot that the Oculus should be released next year for retail between $200 and $400.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's the estimated price range. Nothing is set in stone yet. Oculus was aiming for a consumer model to be released at the $300 mark. After putting one of these things on my head, I would say it's well worth $300. The latest development kit, the DK2, is going currently for $350. But the consumer version is supposed to have what they call a, quote, significant increase in resolution over the current model, and the refresh rate should be up from 75 hertz to 90 hertz or higher.
Nice.
So this could actually be a very major machine.
Yeah.
You know what would probably make my wife happier if I could just plug this thing into, some of my gaming systems so she could use a TV while I'm busy on something else. It's true.
Not gonna stop you from yelling.
Well, I don't know. You guys have heard the show. I usually yell incoherent things all the time. So my home life would not change in the slightest. Speaking of upcoming video games, I'm going to drive my wife crazy with Destiny is released on Tuesday.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Looking forward to that.
Have you all been drinking in the live action trailer they made?
I loved that thing. That thing was
fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Don't think
What about
I saw it. I think I did see it. Yes, I did.
It was a 2-minute video that involved 3 players, Black Sabbath.
Yep. Something classic.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
You have seen it, V?
Yeah.
Okay. It's it's one of those things where I'm staring at just going, did they already make a movie? This looks like a low-budget movie. What the fuck is this? But I actually liked the trailer a lot. It did a nice combination of live action and the stupid inane shit gamers will say to each other.
Yep.
What's down there? Death. Theirs or ours? I don't know. Let's find out. That's a good.
I hate when she does that. But actually, if you have a copy of Destiny, a physical copy before launch by any reason, or by some reason, you'll actually be able to start playing it.
Yep.
Nice.
The only thing is, though, that the servers go live at 12 a.m. September 9th via the international dateline. So there's some countries that'll be playing probably close to a full day before America will.
Well, I don't know, because I've been seeing people say that, but I know I've been looking at it, and it keeps, it says it goes live, 12 o'clock Pacific, and then 3 o'clock Eastern, so that's still 12 o'clock related to Pacific time. So it looks to me like they've got it all synced up.
Oh, it could be. But regardless, they're doing a midnight release, so servers go live as of, 12:01 a.m. on Tuesday.
And I have to work. Damn it.
You ain't the only one. You ain't the only one. My wife's actually telling, why don't you go to the midnight release? Because I have to be somewhere tomorrow. Why don't you use a sick day? Because you asked me to be somewhere in 2 months.
Well, to be honest, if this is anything like a regular MMO launch, it's going to be fucking nuts. You'll be lucky to get
there will
in.
be all kinds of problems and so forth, but...
Well, we'll see. You can't say Bungie doesn't have experience on what kind of setups they need to get everything rolling.
True, but I haven't seen them do a stress test, so...
I wouldn't know. They may do that internally, or they may have just done that on the PlayStation.
They don't have enough people to do a stress test.
Yeah, let me
proper.
tell you, it's really a stress test takes a bunch of people.
It takes
lot
hundreds
of
of thousands of people to get that to do a stress test, and they don't
Yeah.
have enough employees for that.
I didn't say they needed employees, though. They need partners.
Even so, it's.
Well,
I would be surprised if they were doing it internally.
well, like I said, they can employ partners for that. But they did say that if you buy the last generation version of Destiny, either PS3 or 360, you can get a free copy of the current generation as well.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, you'll do a digital upgrade offering for Destiny that allow players who get the Xbox 360 or PS3 to migrate to Xbox One or PS4. So you get you'll get the base game and anything else, any other extras you picked up along the way,
I like
including
these
DLC.
guys.
Yeah, I wish I'd known about that. I could have gotten the 360 and saved myself a little money at first.
Well, that's not the only game getting an upgrade. Disney Infinity 2.0 is coming soon. They're adding a lot of Disney originals as well as an entire bank of Marvel characters. But they've also teased that Star Wars may be added to the game as well. Two of the game's main programmers did joke that pretty soon they may end up with characters in 2015 from far, far away. Although that could be Star Wars, or for all we know, they could be talking about like future Disney releases with a generic term like far, far away.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're not adding anything from Once Upon a Time.
Hey.
They're already in there.
Yeah.
Have you seen the designs of the new 3DS?
No.
I have trouble with this thing.
Oh, wait,
And I don't
no,
have
yeah,
trouble
I've
getting
seen it.
I mean, I don't. It's not that I have trouble in visualizing it. I'm looking at it. I understand it. I don't understand why they designed it as it is. I sent you guys the URL. So this new 3DS has dual analog sticks.
Right.
It has the one on the left that everyone's used to, but they added a new one on the right. Problem is that they kept the buttons in the same place on the right, but they added this itty-bitty analog nub that's smaller than one of the buttons up by the screen.
Yeah.
In looking at it, it reminds me of the same frustration I felt when I picked up an N64 controller.
Or like one of those laptops where the mouse is that little button in the center.
Yeah.
Mhm.
See, that's what I'm
Actually,
worried about.
It's not an N64 controller. This thing reminds me of a GameCube controller, frankly.
Yeah, with that little.
Maybe I'm a little
nub
bit
for the-
spoiled by. Maybe I'm spoiled by my 360, my PS3, and my Xbox One. But I'm used to a balanced controller.
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't really have much problem using it this way, except I'm just worried about how sensitive does that little nub have to be.
I don't know. Obviously, it doesn't have the same movement ratio as its big cousin on the left.
Yeah.
I'm worried about its durability.
Well, the nub usually doesn't. It's usually the torque that you can put on the bigger joysticks that, you know, they have to make them so thick and everything. The nub doesn't usually go out.
Well, they added new shoulder buttons to this thing, too. It doesn't just have the R and L. They added 2 more to the interior of both those buttons.
Huh.
So there's an additional R2, or I think it says RZ and LZ buttons. I don't like this design. You could do with a little more ergonomics. But what am I saying? It's one of the few things that Nintendo does. It still sells.
Yeah.
V, this is something we wanted to talk about last week, and I'm glad you're here for this. There was a recent release that was put out of a study.
Uh-huh.
The average percent women now represent 48% of the average group of video game players in the U.S.
That wouldn't terribly surprise me.
You wouldn't think so. It's still that perception, though, that this is very much a male-dominated arena, which it just no longer is. I don't know if that's the age.
Well, you know why that is, right? Is because women tend to play the single-player games more, RPG, strategy, and such. It's fewer like the massively multiplayer FPSs, where if you speak up, it's really evident what gender you are.
I don't know. I actually think that rise has to do with the increase of popularity of Korean MOBAs.
That could be too. I just happen to know that is a statistic, and most of the, especially from personal experience, like I prefer those kinds of games, and most of the other lady gamers I know are of similar mind.
Well, I was going to say, I wonder if that has to do with the age of the average player coming up as well, because women over 18 represent 36% of people who play video games on a regular basis. Boys under the age of 18, you know, the ones who are usually yelling the loudest, only make up 17% of total gamers. So I'm wondering if because the male age has gone up, that maybe the maturity level is raised to the point where women feel like they can play on a more consistent basis.
Maybe.
It's a thought process.
I think if we get, like, a forum somewhere, we should have polls.
Well, it's because of all the polls that we had trouble getting female gamers in.
Oh.
You can do better, Jeremy.
Oh, I thought that was pretty damn good. Y'all can eat my poll.
Well, I wasn't sure if you were talking about your poll or a pole dance or what.
See, and you think I'm the twisted one. He's the one that's actually saying, get up on that stage. Let me help you through medical school. Dead or Alive 5 is actually coming to PS4 and Xbox One in spring.
Wow.
Yeah.
5?
I think it's well, I mean, I think 5 has already been released, but I believe the last round version is coming. It's definitely coming to a Japanese PS4 and Xbox One spring of next year. There's no information on a Western release yet. I think this would be the third version of Dead or Alive 5. I gotta wonder if this game is just about over or if the team has just moved on to something else by now.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I enjoyed the original games and everything, it still plays well on a single player, but I think PvP on this can be a little frustrating because it's so easy to counter something someone else is working on in this game. Am I correct in saying it worked on that rock, paper, scissors format when it came to the punches and kicks?
You know, it's been a while since I played. I'm not that familiar with it anymore.
Well, this was also the game that kind of was famous for the size of their female avatars.
Yeah. The volleyball game really
trying
didn't
to get
help.
more PC here. Come on. The volleyball game was actually a very solid game. Did you ever sit down and play it?
No, I just watched you play it.
I lost hours just because the gameplay was sharp. It was fun to play.
So,
You know,
yeah, I think that's kind of like saying you read it for the articles.
No, I'm honest. I bought it thinking it was going to be titillating. It wasn't that titillating, but the gameplay is sharp. It was tight. It was fun.
I have, in all honesty, read it for the articles.
Well, I read the articles, too.
They're good articles.
You are king hypocrite. Who plays Hearthstone?
I
Jesse.
played a little bit.
Blizzard wants to set up this game so that's the thing that the players are working on for the next 10 years.
I think they have enough content to do that.
I don't know much about it. I think we've discussed it before, but Hearthstone is starting to get its own major tournament circuit. And then,
It's a slimmed down and simplified version of Magic the Gathering, to be honest.
Magic for Dummies?
No.
You mean Pokemon? Or you? I think Yu-Gi-Oh is a better example. Sorry.
Haven't played those two, but it's a simplified card game that gets done pretty damn fast.
Sounds like war.
Oh, they have a lot of the.
War is never done.
Played me, lady.
I don't think I've ever concluded a game of that.
I have. Doesn't take terribly long if you're chatty. There is a university in Seoul, South Korea. They're going to begin teaching a course on PlayStation.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, the entire classroom is a series of desks shaped like controllers, and sitting in front of it is a monitor, a PS4, and a pair of controllers.
Oh, I thought they were teaching about.
They are. They're teaching about it. They're also teaching the course, which uses PS4 consoles and PS Vita handhelds as part of the curriculum. It's a 3-credit class, teaching students about the game industry.
Nice.
Wow.
Wonder what exactly you're going to learn about the game industry when it appears that most of the course is sitting there going, okay, now click left. Here's how you mine in Minecraft. First you punch trays. Stuff like that. I really didn't need to know there's another Mortal Kombat coming.
Mortal Kombat 10?
Yep, launching worldwide April 14th.
Yep.
And if you pre-order it, you get to play as Goro.
Yep.
He is back for another one. This is another Warner Brothers release.
Yeah.
They are calling it the most brutal Mortal Kombat experience ever.
Well, they're taking what they learned from the Injustice and adding some of it into it. Like using the environment.
Is it technically learning anything from Injustice, or just reusing the tools that they already had?
Don't know.
I think did you just blue screen?
I heard him thinking.
Well, the thing is, I haven't played either game, and I'm not really big on fighting games, but I've watched some guys I follow on YouTube talk about it. They're really excited about it.
I mean, it's coming out of the same studio, so like I said, I just don't know if they're reusing tools that are already in the quiver. But speaking of fighting games, the president of ESPN has released a statement.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, esports is not a sport. It's a competition. Chess is a competition. Checkers is a competition. Mostly, I'm interested in doing real sports, unquote.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So, ESPN, I guess maybe ESPN and ESPN2, not interested in playing video games as a televised broadcast. Now, whether or not they'll put it on the Ocho, up there with dodgeball and shit.
So does that mean they're going to start hosting Magic the Gathering tournaments as well? Because they do.
I don't know.
That's a good question.
I don't play Magic. Why would I watch it?
It's actually pretty fun to watch. If you know
if you understand the gameplay, yeah, it's pretty exciting. But yeah, no, I know they televise it.
I don't know shit about that. Literally, I don't know shit about that. We do have Marvel media news, and it's getting thick because the next Marvel movie coming out is Age of Ultron. So the information on that is starting to leak out, especially with the fact that they've already wrapped shooting. They're probably going to do a couple reshoots just in case. But the biggest one is that a lot of people are really kind of upset over Hawkeye's new clothes for Age of Ultron.
What is it with people being upset over wardrobe changes?
I don't know. I mean, some people are deriding the coat he wears. They're saying it makes him look like somebody else. I don't know. He wore that sleeveless tunic in the first movie. Is it possible that if he goes somewhere cold, he might need protection from cold?
No.
No.
They
altered their wardrobe for certain occasions, like, cold weather, hot weather, underwater, outer space.
Right.
I mean, the Hulk has to wear something over his face to breathe.
Well, who knows? For all we know, they're just setting up the next action figure. It'll be up there with Arctic Assault Batman.
Oh boy.
What?
I'm picturing Arctic Assault Batman.
I don't have to.
Well, there is an interesting rumor that's come out about Age of Ultron, though. What they're stating right now, at least via Blaster, is that apparently the lineup of the Avengers going into Age of Ultron may not be the same one coming out of it.
Ooh.
That Captain America will be surrounded by a combination of new and old Avengers by the end of this film. I mean, new is pretty obvious because they're introducing 3 in this movie. Quicksilver, the Scarlet Witch, and the Vision, which I guess you could say are 3 of the Avengers that really kind of epitomize the late 80s and early 90s of that comic. We've also heard the rumor that the Hulk is going to be unavailable by the end of this movie somehow. Something to do with space.
Yeah.
They keep saying that World War Hulk is not coming. I really hope not, because that's too complicated of a story to tell here. But the other part of that is that there's a rumor going around that Carol Danvers may be introduced in the middle of this film. Whether or not she'll be Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel, kind of up in the air. They're also saying that they may try to trim out all the scenes with whatever actors played her, assuming this rumor is true, simply because it may be too much for the whole of the movie. I did a little digging, and right now it looks like the running time of this movie is somewhere around 2 hours 45 minutes before cutting.
Wow.
So
That's
there's a lot of story to
respectable.
be told here. If the writing is as strong as the previous movie, fuck you and give me 3 hours. I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I wasn't meaning... For superheroes and epics like that, I like long movies.
Yeah. Now, well, that's not the only thing we learned. This might actually fit into this rumor. Stan Lee has been talking about these movies ever since they started making a universe out of it.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that sort of let it slip that there's a Stephen Strange movie coming.
Oops.
He did it again. He was at the Fan Expo in Canada last Friday. He was chatting it up, and someone asked him the question of whether or not Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow will get her own solo movie. Obviously, they haven't heard about her little pregnancy thing.
They can hide that.
Well, they did for Age of Ultron. She was already showing by that movie, so you can bet that she's going to be offline for about the next 6 months.
Yeah.
But the thing that he said was, quote, the chances are she will have her own movie because eventually all the superheroes are going to have their own movies. They're already working on Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, and the Black Panther. There are others I'm not allowed to talk about, unquote. It's like, well, fuck, wait.
Black Panther?
I know. There's others you're not allowed to talk about, but you talk about the one nobody has actually announced yet.
Nice.
Just a reminder that Stan is 92. This is bound to happen sooner or later.
That or he's a troll. And...
That's also possible, considering the way he acted at last year's Kamikaze.
Yeah.
But still, they have not announced any of the Phase 3 movies past Ant-Man and Doctor Strange, so I believe there's still 3 or 4 slots in that 12-month cycle for other movies. Well, I should rectify that. We know that one of those extra 3 slots is going to be Avengers 3, which is supposed to be the Infinity Gauntlet by all accounts. And the last movie that features Chris Evans.
Yep. Unless they
Yeah.
do something different. Because isn't Cap 3 supposed to come before then?
No. No, it's not. Cap 3 would come before Avengers 3.
Well, yeah. And he already made a cameo in Dark World, so I think he's only got 1 movie left in his contract.
Yeah, that would be Cap 3. He already filmed Age of Ultron.
Right.
So they would have to re-sign him to probably an ungodly amount of money, considering what he wants to do now is direct.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. had to convince him to even do the Marvel ones.
Yeah, they had to extend his contract significantly. But Jeremy Renner has teased that he may be heavily involved in Captain America 3, actually. He said that during a recent interview with Collider, quote, there are rumblings of a Hawkeye appearance in Captain America 3. I don't know what's going to happen there. I've got to find the time, man. I'm trying to stay at home, and I can't.
It's working.
Well, he is working. He's doing his Hawkeye appearances. He's signed to do the next Bourne movie, and he also is doing Mission Impossible 5 in the next 12 months.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
The dude, he has trouble finding time to sit down, frankly. And Captain America 3 is due in less than 2 years. Its date is May 6, 2016. The date he kicked Batman out of. But Joaquin Phoenix is supposedly in final negotiations for Doctor Strange now. There was another rumor of a potential actor, but I decided to ditch it since it sounds like Joaquin Phoenix is very close to signing. There's some kind of sticking point, though, and I think it has to do with his schedule. Oh, no, it wasn't his schedule. The rumored sticking point is the fact that he doesn't want to sign for multiple movies like Marvel is used to doing lately. I don't know why he wouldn't want to do that. Because, you know, if anything, Guardians of the Galaxy showed that Marvel is willing to put or Disney, I should say, is willing to put a hell of a lot behind these films. And just about all of them make money and probably make careers.
Yeah.
So why he's trepidatious about a multi-movie deal? Just sign 3, see what happens. I am excited about the news that the Netflix CCO says that the Daredevil TV is going to be darker than Marvel has done in the past. The CCO, Ted Sarando, said, quote, "It was really based on the theatrical model of the Avengers. Could you take another group of characters, the Defenders, and go about it the same way? Normally they do the big movie. They eventually get to the group origin story. Having 13 hours to tell each of these stories, you can go right to the origin story and then the action at the same time," unquote. He added, quote, "The series will not be afraid to go darker than the film did. What we love about this particular set of heroes is that they're a little more down to earth, costume-wise, and also that these are pretty gritty crime stories, more in the streets than in the clouds," unquote. I think, arguably, that's the thing that's currently missing from the Marvel Universe. There is no street-level hero.
Yeah.
No,
They're all world-traveling gallivantes. Huh?
I say nothing that Disney has their hands on.
Actually, Disney has their hands on quite a bit. They just haven't done anything with it yet. You know, it's like most of the major street-level heroes are being introduced here. Even Spider-Man technically doesn't fit that quota anymore. And I don't think the X-Men ever did.
No, I'm not saying, yeah, I was thinking Spider-Man, but he doesn't fit there anymore? Really?
He is more of a world traveler type ever since before the Superior series. Basically since he joined the Avengers, which would make it about 7-8 years ago. He's now all over the place. He still does most of his adventures in New York, but you'll find him outside of it just as often these days.
So he's the new Wolverine?
Well, he has to be. Wolverine's dying. But when it comes to the Netflix series, they have announced that the next in line is not going to be Power Man and it's not going to be Iron Fist. It's actually Jessica Jones.
Right.
So
Who's that again?
It's kind of difficult to explain because I don't know what she'll be in the cinematic universe. In the comic books, she is a person who came across her powers by accident not long after Peter Parker came across his. Tried being a superhero for a little while. Didn't work. She was mind-controlled and raped. Never really got much of a hang of her own powers, including flying, before she went back to being a private investigator. Then she, because of her relative strength and invulnerability, she got into a very physical relationship with Luke Cage, which I'm sure involved property damage of some sort. She had a daughter, became an Avenger for a little while under the name Power Woman, and then she became so worried about her daughter, she stepped back from superheroics again to be a full-time mother. I imagine that means this character is probably going to resurface in the comics in a big bad way in about the next probably 18 months here. The question is, in what format? I mean, the lady she hired as a nanny, Squirrel Girl, is coming to the Netflix series.
Oh, I thought that was rumored.
No, the way V presented it was that they're already working on casting the character of Doreen.
Huh.
Yeah, that's the way it was looking.
Yeah.
But of course, plans can change and whatnot.
Yeah, it could be. Could be the role sucks and they decide not to do it. It's amazing how Donald Glover has now affected comic book media twice. What I mean by that is that Donald Glover is actually the inspiration for the Ultimate Spider-Man, Miles Morales.
Mm-hmm.
When he heard they were rebooting the Spider-Man movies for Sony, he petitioned in a big bad way to try and get that role. Even showed up to his interview, or his screen test, I should say, in a Spider-Man outfit. The execs didn't like the idea. They weren't ready to go with a black Spider-Man. But the story of this person got back to Brian Michael Bendis, who took a look at him in the pictures and decided he liked it so much, he designed the new Ultimate Spider-Man, who is a half-black, half-Latino teenager, after they killed Peter Parker in that universe. Now, as it turns out, Donald Glover is going to play Miles Morales in the Spider-Man animated series.
Awesome.
Nice.
They're doing a season they call Web Warriors, where it's similar to a Spider-Verse. Spider-Man's going to come in contact with a whole bunch of alternative versions of himself, and he's going to meet Miles Morales, who's going to have a little bit of hero worship, because in his universe, Peter Parker is dead.
Yeah.
Weird how it all comes around like that, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And in that vein, we have a rumor that I do wish is true, yet I don't wish is true. That someone is trying to put Wesley Snipes back in fake Fang to
Oh,
play
yes.
Blade.
Yeah.
Isn't
As a
he,
web series, I think.
like, not in the country anymore because of...
Tax evasion?
No, he
Yeah.
did time for tax evasion.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right.
He
They
finished his
caught him.
sentence. He's out. Yeah. He's been out for a while. Remember, he's in Expendables 2 and 3.
He is?
I know he's in Expendables 3, but...
Oh, was he not in 2?
No?
I know he's featured very heavily in 3.
Yeah, he's in 3.
He's in the ads. So he's acting again. He probably needs the money. The reason why I'm curious about this is or why I say I don't like this. I don't want another Blade movie. I just don't. The first one was good. The second two were fucking train wrecks for different reasons. You know, if I have to say the words vampire Pomeranian, I might vomit. But the reason why I say I hope this may actually be true is because in the comic books right now, Blade is a member of the Mighty Avengers, which actually is, with its members being Luke Cage and Iron Fist. So it occurs to me, maybe Wesley Snipes, someone's trying to get him to be in the Defenders miniseries.
Mm.
Would make a lot of sense.
It would.
But who knows? That's the kind of thing that would build buzz all on its own, frankly. Now, okay, this was news I wanted. I had heard rumors back before the movie came out, but this I wanted to be true. In 2015, they're going to release a director's cut of X-Men Days of Futures Past.
Ooh.
Oh.
I would be interested in watching that.
Me too.
Yeah, now, the movie that came out and everyone saw in theaters ran 2 hours, 11 minutes. The overall runtime of this DVD release, which is not the standard version, but the director's cut, mind you, will have an overall runtime close to 3 hours.
Wow.
This includes deleted scenes that had Rogue in it.
Yeah, they're going to make some money on that one.
Well, the reason why they cut out her scenes was because what they did was mid-movie, Iceman and Magneto ran away from that temple where everyone was at because of Kitty Pryde's injury.
Uh-huh.
They went to jailbreak Rogue so that Rogue could grab her powers and possibly her memories just in case Kitty can't make it through the entirety of the mission.
Oh.
That makes sense.
But what the filmmakers were worried about was that with this extra half hour or so of a deviation in the story, was that the future was going to have pretty much the same amount of screen time as the past, and they thought it'd make it a much harder movie to follow when there's so much time spent in both worlds.
They're probably not entirely wrong about that.
Maybe. It's probably just my cynicism or the fact that I've been reading comics for 30 years, but it's like, fuck, I understood the Last Action Hero where most people said it was confusing. Just give me the movie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this means that the version that's coming out later this year, nope, not getting it, because if I'm going to get any one of these, I'm going to wait for this new version.
Yeah.
Wow, I've never heard you guys say that in stereo before. Like, all three of you at once, the hive mind kicked in.
Well, that was a good movie. We want to see it in
More
its
of it,
entirety.
yeah.
I thought it was an okay movie. It had some plot holes that I have trouble getting past.
True, but
I thought it
you know,
was a
my
we'll
wonderful...
solve it.
Weren't able to solve most of them. Some of them were just outright strange. You know, the fact that Kitty Pryde was suddenly playing the role of Rachel Summers.
Well, if you
let alone a
take
couple other things.
if you take it out of the context of the comic books, it might make more sense because in movies you generally don't have as much time to explain all the things.
As much as most of it just kind of made me sit there and go, that's a fucking stretch, or that's painful. That one in particular really just kind of took me sideways because it was just one of those powers that seems so weirdly unrelated to the one she had before. And out of the history of Marvel comics, especially X-Men comics, there must have been so many different psychics you could pull from, but that's what you choose to do.
Yeah, that's true.
I wish James Gunn had left in his original cameo idea for Stan Lee.
Yeah.
What was that?
It was released. The Guardians of the Galaxy. He had an appearance as a Nova officer.
Nova officer?
You know, I believe that's what it was.
No, I think he was something in the collector's collection, and he flips off Groot.
No, that's not the actual cameo. That's what was That's what it was originally. His actual cameo was, I think he was in the Nova Corps. I'm pretty sure he was in a uniform.
I think I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Okay, the original version they wrote in was that he was just sitting in a chair in the midst of the collector's glass cases of menageries.
That would
Groot apparently walks by, has this real curious expression like he recognizes him, and Lee tries to wave him off as if to say, go away. It's a decent gig. They filmed the scene with a, I guess you could say a double or a sit-in, and they were going to digitally add Lee later to it. But it seems that some people said that Disney didn't like the idea and they forced him to take it out. Gunn himself has said that's not the case, and he just didn't think it worked in the film.
I'm struggling to have an opinion.
I would have laughed myself silly if Lee was just sitting there amongst the Dark Elf and the Chitauri and all this other stuff.
I mean, you already threw Cosmo in there. You might as well.
And the Duck.
Yeah.
Yes. I had to explain what Howard the Duck was to someone in my theater after that. And I haven't even seen it. I just know what it is.
Oh, it's a laughable movie. It really is, but it's a stupid romp. There has been some information released that we may know who's going to play Peter Quill's father in the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's kind of sideways, and something would have to be signed, but here's the thing. Did you know that James Gunn and Guardians of the Galaxy has a rather significant fan? Al Pacino has said how much he loved that movie and he loved the direction.
Oh, I saw that article earlier.
He said he would, quote, do anything when asked if he would like to appear in the sequel or in any Marvel movie. Quote, I would do anything that I could understand in terms of how I fit in. And, of course, if I could fit in it, anything's possible, unquote. And he raved individually about Guardians of the Galaxy, calling it good stuff, an amazing, entertaining, inventive, and a beautiful film.
Wow.
And Gunn did hear all this. He said he couldn't be happier with the comments, according to comicbook.com. And he apparently wrote Al back saying, quote, one of the greatest things about making Guardians of the Galaxy is getting so many messages from folks in the industry whom I admire, unquote. James Gunn also admitted to being a huge fan of The Godfather and The Godfather 2. Uh-oh. Last bit of Marvel media news I have is that X-Men Apocalypse is going to start shooting in the spring in Montreal, Canada. It appears that North is where they're going to film these things lately. You got X-Men Apocalypse up there. I think Detroit has Dawn of Justice. I don't know where Captain America filmed. But the current word is that Simon Kinberg, Mike Dougherty, and Dan Harris are hard at work on a script, and they think that Bryan Singer is going to be able to direct it. He's still kind of working off the stink of that whole sexual harassment thing going on.
What?
I haven't heard about this either.
He was brought up on charges on sexual assault not long before Days of Futures Past came out. It's because of that he didn't actively work promoting the prior film. He was busy taking care of that. But all we do know so far is that we don't know the official locales or cities that are going to be in the movie. It's going to be set in the 80s. The First Class is probably going to make a center stage appearance, but some people are looking for a younger Wolverine, Professor X, Storm, and Jean Grey to make possible appearances. Other than Apocalypse, of course.
Right.
I would want to see the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, but which Four Horsemen?
At this point, any Four Horsemen. I'd even take the guy that claps and makes explosions at this point.
That was kind of a cheesy war.
It was with that weird bowl cut he had. He was some kind of former soldier, but it was because it was set in the 80s and I didn't know better, because when I grew up, I'd almost swear I just want to see him on panel, clapping his hands together. Let me give you the clap! Boom! Oh, my fucking burned! When it comes to DC media news, there has been some major bombshells dropped, I tell you. The biggest one is that it's official. Black Adam will do the people's eyebrow.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Dwayne Johnson is going to be Black Adam for the Shazam movie.
Okay.
And Warner Bros. Isn't putting it out.
No, this is sourced directly from Warner Brothers.
Yeah, true, but they shut it off to one of the subsidiaries, New Line.
Oh, that's still Warner Brothers.
Still, but they aren't. They're not.
When you say subsidiaries, Warner Brothers owns it. They run it. The only difference is what name it's out under.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Jeremy on this.
True, but if it's new,
It's like Disney. When Buena Vista Entertainment puts out a movie, that's a Disney movie. It just has Buena Vista's name on it. It's like when Sony puts out a movie under TriStar, still a Sony movie.
I'm saying though, with New Line doing it, means if that rumor is true that Warner Bros. Ain't putting humor in their superhero properties, New Lines can still do humor.
Actually, it's been said that Shazam is being made for a sense of fun and sense of humor.
Good. Not that I think I'm going to want to watch it, but...
Still, it's something that's kind of unavoidable when you have your main hero that's a 10-year-old.
Yeah. 10-year-olds generally like fun.
Fart jokes, too.
If they're boys.
I don't know. My daughter laughs pretty well. It has been rumored, though, that Warner Brothers is working on trying to fit Benedict Cumberbatch into a role. They have. It's been rumored that he may be considered for the role of Martian Manhunter in the Justice League. It didn't surprise Cumberbatch when he was asked about it during GQ's Man of the Year awards. There was one role he didn't know he was being considered for, and that was when it comes to the Martian Manhunter rumor, that's the one that sticks better than the other, as he put it. I'm not quite sure what else they've got him up for, but it's still just rumors at this point. I don't know, he would make a pretty good Martian Manhunter. Just don't let David Goyer direct it. He might have him try and fuck She-Hulk again. DC has set out some URLs for future movie plans, though. They've recently gotten several URLs. JusticeLeagueFilm.com, ShazamMovie.com, WonderWomanTheMovie.com, and AquamanMovie.com. You think they could come up with something a little more dynamic than that?
It speaks to the point, anyway.
I know, I just hope that it's not actually called Wonder Woman the Movie.
Yeah, that'd be pretty dull.
As long as they don't use the old theme song.
You know that's going to be playing on radio somewhere in the middle of it. This is one that actually took me sideways, and I want to know how true this is. There's conflicting reports that DC may be shopping around a Supergirl TV show.
Yeah, I heard something about that.
Deadline jumped into this fray, corroborating and refuting earlier reports. They say the show is in development and has been for some time. It's being co-created and produced by Greg Berlanti and Addie Adler, who are going to write the pilot script. It's also believed that one of DC's chief creative officers, Jeff Johns, is going to be involved in the project.
Really?
Yeah. Titles under consideration for this series are Girl or Super. Oh, fuck.
Oh, boy. Can't they come up with something more interesting?
Well, the thing is, and some people have actually pointed this out, considering how DC's TV properties so far, all the ones they're trying, are very down-to-earth heroes. Supergirl doesn't quite fit in that mold at all. So some people are wondering if this is going to be completely detached from those other series, which are very definitively interconnected, or if it's possible that this show is going to be its own world and universe. But then the question becomes, if it's going to be a full-powered Supergirl, part of the character's angst, I guess you could say, is her connection to Superman. And the show supposedly will not involve Superman at all. So doesn't that take out a large bit of the writing potential for this character?
Yeah, just a bit.
Other people have said maybe it will be connected with the other TV shows, but they'll go with it Smallville style, no tights, no flights type thing. Which would be a fucking mistake considering how fast the Flash is advancing, and that's not a pun. I don't quite know what they're looking for here. Supergirl could be a heck of a lead-in for them on several things, but if they're going the same route where TV is not connected to movies, I don't even know why you try it this way. Just keeping the whole thing on Earth in the case of a character like Supergirl just kind of really neuters the character, in my opinion. Well, there's also rumors that there's going to be a reunion of Rogues in the Flash TV series. Hollywood Reporter says that Dominic Purcell from several TV shows, including John Doe and Prison Break, is being cast as Heatwave. They already have a Captain Cold in there, and the first episode has the Weather Wizard, so yeah, that's 3 Rogues.
Yeah.
All you need now is Mirror Master and the Trickster. And you could do the Pied Piper if you're really shooting for something fun there. Heatwave is what he sounds like. He's more or less pyrokinetic, has a special rig that creates fire. Depending on which version of the comics you look at, he might or might not be physically scarred as a result. Either way, he's a pyromaniac.
He's a maniac.
No.
Well, he is dancing like he's never danced before. I can't believe they recast Katana in Season 3 of Arrow. The character Tatsu Yamashiro is a DC heroine named Katana who carries a katana that I believe it traps souls in it when she cuts people. The original actress playing it, Devon Aoki, is being replaced due to a scheduling conflict. Who is stepping into this role? Rila Shima from The Wolverine. She played Yukio in that movie. Is playing it.
Okay.
The two. She played the Japanese girl with the red hair and that very narrow chin line.
Yeah.
I just wonder how people are going to react to that, because that's a casting of 2 very talented people, but they look very different.
Yeah, but that's something you have to accept with... I mean, they went through the same thing with Harry Potter when, the first Dumbledore died. The person that they got to replace him really didn't look all that similar. He was a good actor, but
that was in the case of death. That was an unavoidable problem.
Yeah, but at the same time, if the person doesn't want to do it anymore, that's an unavoidable problem unless you've got them contracted.
Again, didn't want to do it. It was just a scheduling problem. They probably didn't pay her enough for the role, so she couldn't prioritize it.
Yeah. Well, in any case, I mean, it's just something you have to accept, especially with TV, because it's even more of a commitment over time, and for less money. So
yeah, but then we're talking about people who bitch about change of clothing.
That's true. We're talking about guys who hate it when certain women wear pants.
Yeah.
Or certain guys stop wearing their red underwear on their blue tights.
Yeah.
But they are casting a brand new character for Season 3. The character of Cupid is coming to Arrow. That's a rather freaky character. I remember when she debuted in the comics. Let me see. Who is playing this? Amy Guman-Hickas is playing the role. Cupid was a former special forces person who underwent a process that removed all fear from her system. The side effect was that when she feels love, she follows it very passionately and very creepy stalker-like. Then she developed a crush on the Green Arrow and started following him around, learned archery, started calling herself Cupid, cutting hearts into herself.
Wow.
Yeah. So, enjoy that. I'm a little pissed in finding out that Ra's al Ghul for Arrow is going to be played by Matt Nable from Riddick.
Not familiar with him.
I don't know myself. I don't have anything against him in particular. It was announced earlier this week that he is playing the role of Ra's al Ghul. What I am pissed about is that they didn't call Liam Neeson.
Oh, yeah.
Especially since I think I saw something about how he loved to do
it. Yeah.
He said he'd do it. he said he'd be willing to reprise a role if he was asked. And he said, quote, "No, I haven't been asked. I haven't been asked at all. I would do it in a heartbeat if it came my way. Yeah, very much so," unquote. They never asked him.
They really don't want their movies connecting, which is a bad idea.
I don't know about that, but I mean, it's not like the Nolanverse is supposed to be included in these at all, so you could have recast him as Ra's al Ghul for this TV series and really built a universe here. Let alone, that's star power you could have taken advantage of.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
So that was just a misstep. In general media news, speaking of missteps, Harrison Ford is back on the set of Star Wars 7.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad he's not permanently hurt.
Well enough. He's back on his feet and working. So, now he gets another chance to take a shot at that Millennium Falcon.
It's all those relics he handled. He's garnered immortality.
He's a relic.
But he forgot to ask for the part about not aging, so...
I'm sorry, you said all those relics he handled. My first thought was, you mean Ally McBeal? Oh my god. I'm a bad person. I did not... Have you guys seen the blooper reel to Star Trek Into Darkness?
No.
Yes, actually. I saw the little mini... I'm gathering that the full blooper reel is like 12 minutes long.
No. I think I may have seen that.
Yeah, that's actually one of the conversations we had yesterday was at this barbecue was a really cool superpower to have would be you have multiple personality disorder. You're also a telepath, so everyone else hears your voices.
Oh.
That would be awesome.
That would be weird.
And then for a unique twist, you can't hear your voices, so you have to talk to other people to find out what they're saying.
So you just never talk to anybody ever, because why would you want to know?
Yeah, if you have multiple personality syndrome, it'd be more like, hey, have fun with that. Here you go. Here's the blooper reel.
You alright?
Yeah,
You broken?
a little bit. Where's Khan?
Nah!
From the mud thing?
Weird. Speaking of weird, is the rumor that Amazon wants to bring the Tick back.
I've heard that.
Yeah, Patrick Warburton supposedly is in negotiations to sign with Amazon to make brand new episodes of the live-action Tick series. I don't know if that means they would bring back any of the other actors or characters.
They only need
Nice.
Patrick Warburton.
Technically, I suppose
I
so.
saw a thing where they actually have 3 other characters along with the Tick, including Arthur.
Well, the show centered around 4 characters of the Tick, Arthur, I think Miss America, and Batman Well.
Yes, Batman. Well, no, not Miss America. I forget what her name was.
Well, I know
Miss
there was the American
Maid
Maid
or
originally, but they didn't go
American
Yeah,
they
the
didn't go
American
that-
Maid. That's her. That's what it was.
That's what they did in the cartoon. They went a different route in the TV series. I think there was copyright troubles. That or they were afraid people on TV would just say, why does a woman have to be a maid? Some people just don't have a sense of humor about little things.
Lots of people.
Yeah. I did not know that UC Riverside had a library that had what they called the Eaton Collection. It is the world's largest public reserve of science fiction and fantasy books and materials.
Ooh. A reserve
there was new
for
management
science
out-
fiction and fantasy books.
Yeah, there was not a reserve, it's a public reserve. In other words, a public library.
Okay.
Worse. The problem was that the library out at the UC Riverside had new management who didn't consider this a priority and were getting ready to sell it or let it go.
Mm.
But then the estate of a guy named Jay Klein got involved. He used to work in advertising for General Electric and Carrier. He had a passion for photography and science fiction, and he died in 2012 at 80. His estate donated $3.5 million to keep the reserve where it is.
Nice.
Damn.
So fuck you, new management.
There's justice in the world after all. Sometimes.
Until the money dries out.
Yeah. There's also a lost chapter to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the classic book.
Really?
Since
Yeah. To celebrate the 50th anniversary of the book, the lost chapter can be read in its entirety at the Guardian. In this book in this chapter is an actual section regarding a large-scale chocolate mountain.
a recipe to make one?
No, an actual chocolate mountain. I'm going to read you a quote that they pulled from the chapter in IO9. Quote, in the center of the room there was an actual mountain, colossal, jagged mountain, as high as a 5-story building, and the whole thing was made of pale brown, creamy vanilla fudge. All the way up the sides of the mountain, hundreds of men were working away with picks and drills, hacking great chunks of fudge out of the mountainside. And some of them, those that were high up in the dangerous places, were roped together for safety. As the huge chunks of fudge were pried loose, they went tumbling and bouncing down the mountain. And when they reached the bottom, they were picked up by cranes with grab buckets. And the cranes dumped the fudge into open wagons, into an endless moving line of wagons, rather like smallish railway wagons, which carried the stuff away to the far end of the room and then through a hole in the wall. It's all fudge, Mr. Wonka said grandly, unquote.
Wow.
The chapter is called The Vanilla Fudge Room. It's illustrated by English cartoonist Quentin Blake, and it's available over at The Guardian. Now I want chocolate.
No.
It's also been revealed that a Game of Thrones actor is joining Star Wars Episode 7. His name is Mitlos Yerolemu.
Oh, he plays Cereal?
Yep. Serial Forel gets a lightsaber.
I can just see that.
He was only in the first season of Game of Thrones, and his character is very likely dead, so he has time on his hands. Deadmau5 is fighting Disney.
Okay.
I can't say it any more plainly than that. Disney filed an a copyright lawsuit.
Intellectual, yeah.
Against Deadmau5.
Yep.
For his helmet symbol. You know, that helmet he wears to all of his shows and in public appearances?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they say that his helmet infringes on Disney property, specifically their own logo of the mouse ears. A lot of people, when stuff like this happens, they fold fast because they don't want to deal with Disney lawyers. What has Deadmau5 done? He filed a countersuit.
Countersuit?
Said they got it from him?
He's prepared to fight the rights to his own property, he says. I don't know if he's going to countersue saying that he necessarily beat them to the market. He might have a countersuit similar to what Samsung did to iPhone. You cannot own brick shapes, for fuck's sake. So, he may have a point. You can't just own a general shape.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen fancy D&D gear?
What?
No.
No.
I'm kind of surprised one of you doesn't own this box already. There's a laser-cut wooden box that actually has a bunch of stuff in it, including figurine, scrolls, map, and journal. It's called the Adventurer's Kit. It's being offered by Mitt Barclay. Yeah, Mitt Barkey via Albatas?
Huh.
Rather fancy kit.
It's cool looking.
Just hope he doesn't write out everyone's points on that parchment.
I've had to cut out foam like that, too. That's not easy.
Well, I'm sure he's manufacturing it, more or less. Well, it could be you just get the box, the scroll, and a couple of the other things. The foam may be something he did for himself. It is time-consuming. Last bit of general media news I have is that they may have found a lead for the live-action Ghost in the Shell movie.
Oh?
Margot Robbie is in talks with DreamWorks to play the central role of Motoko Kusanagi in the American adaptation of Ghost in the Shell. I didn't know her myself. She apparently played the female lead in The Wolf of Wall Street. It's going to be directed by the man who did Snow White and the Huntsman and the guy who slept with the zombie, Rupert Sanders.
Snow White and the Huntsman wasn't terrible.
Well, he directed the movie, and then he fucked what's her name.
Yeah. Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, it's amazing. I actually can't remember that name. I must be that disinterested in her. I wonder if the name Motoko Kusanagi will even make it to the U.S. release.
I don't know.
Moving on to Marvel comic news. There could be a line-wide relaunch of the Avengers books coming in 2015. There's a storyline beginning right now called Time Runs Out. In 8 months, time runs out for the Avengers, which is going to be preceded by what looks like an Avengers Civil War. You know, the group of heroes trying to stop the incursions, the new Avengers, have been found out by Captain America, and Cap is building a team to go get them. So it could be there's going to be a whole bunch of new number ones coming. I know a lot of people hate that, but I don't mind it so much. It's not like it interrupts the storytelling at all. I think it gives better points for new people to come in and out. I did find out that Marvel is going to collect the Dark Horse Star Wars Legends in April 15 in a collection. They're putting out what they call the Epic Collection. 440 pages. It's going to be only $35 for this trade paperback.
400 and how many?
440 pages.
Wow.
Damn.
And you're going to get a lot of stuff in this collection. These are all Dark Horse comics that Marvel, I don't want to say owns the rights to, but it's going to distribute now that Marvel's doing Star Wars comics again. They're doing in this collection will be Star Wars Republic 78 through 80, Star Wars Purge number 1, Star Wars Purge Seconds to Die number 1, Star Wars Purge The Hidden Blade number 1. This is a lot of bulimia here. Star Wars Purge The Tyrant's Fist 1 and 2, Star Wars Darth Vader and the Lost Command 1 through 5, Star Wars The Dark Times 1 through 5. Now that I've read all that, I want to know what the hell Star Wars, Darth Vader, and the Lost Command is all about. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, actually.
The teasers have already begun for Marvel's new fall event Axis already. There's one that's a picture of the Red Skull or Red Onslaught saying, "You'll welcome this cleansing, Alex."
Dramatic.
It sounds that way. There's a lot of people online who say that sounds awful, like Havoc would ever join him just because he could clean up his scars. He was scarred in a recent issue of Uncanny Avengers. The thing I think people are missing when they make these complaints is this is a Nazi here. His version of cleansing, I think, is quite different than bar of fucking soap. Just a guess.
Yeah. Just a bit.
The other teaser is a very arrogant Iron Man in the new white armor, and the quote is, "This is your fault, Stark." Well, what is it his fault? I mean, fuck, man.
Everything.
Yeah, we found out he was there at the birth of the Hulk. We found out he fucked up the Civil War, almost got Captain America killed, was there when the Scarlet Witch went insane and nearly killed the Avengers.
The Phoenix Force.
Oh yeah, he broke the Phoenix, that's true.
Yeah.
He cosmically fucked it up. Why are people surprised anymore?
Yeah, the biggest question is who's saying that? Because we know there's a long line of people that don't like Stark.
Oh, goodness knows, now that everybody in the Marvel Universe knows what he's been up to, goodness knows. Wouldn't it be ironic if that was Scott Summers yelling that? That would be funny as fuck. A couple weeks ago, do you remember we talked about the alternative cover for Spider-Woman #1?
Oh, yeah.
The one that was somewhat sexualized.
People have just blown up about that.
I know. A lot of people are saying you've sexualized Spider-Woman. It's like, you didn't sexualize it. It looks like she's sneaking on a rooftop. It looks like she crawled over the side of a rooftop, doesn't it?
They're complaining. They're complaining about her big ass or something like that.
Yeah. Somebody decided to take it the next step.
Yeah.
According to Luke Plunkett on IO9, they decided to build a computer, or he grabbed someone's computer model of what someone said it would look like if somebody tried to bend in that position.
Yeah, I've seen this.
You can click the link. That's the side-by-side. It looks like he's got the pose fairly well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's get a profile shot.
Okay, yeah, there's a side shot that I wonder what the fuck this person was thinking.
The fuck?
I don't know. The person that put this together claims this is the way the person would have to bend to get into the position that's on that number 1. The thing is that the writer on IO9 thought it was funny. And then he found another shot that somebody else put together that said this is how the human body would do it. The thing is, in the secondary shot, it looks to me a lot like what the artist was intending anyway, so that tells me it's possible.
Yeah.
Like I said, he just wrote it because he thought it was funny and the people online were just freaking out about it. Not that they were freaking out. He thought it was funny that Marvel ever let somebody write this. Is it just me, or is everyone missing the fact that that right leg is supposed to be over the side of the building from what I'm looking at?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's bent up behind her because that would mean her toes are out in space. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It looks like that back leg is pushing her up.
Well, it looks like the back leg is just dipping over the side, and her left leg on its knee is what's, pushing her up.
Yeah.
I think it's just a weird pose.
Well, whoever put up the second model still didn't cover the complaint we had a couple weeks ago in that they didn't counterbalance the shoulders. Still even down there. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense.
So, man, even people trying to make fun of this don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Imagine that.
Yeah. In a surprise move, Charles Soule has been a big writer in DC recently. He's been working on Red Lanterns and Swamp Thing for DC. He's going to keep doing those books until 2015, but he has to stop after that because he signed a Marvel exclusive.
Ooh.
He's the one actually writing The Death of Wolverine right now.
Huh.
That was a hell of a surprise to me. I read the first issue of that. It wasn't bad. It does look like they're going to finish this off with a growl instead of just a whimper. He's not going to walk off into the sunset. It looks like somebody's going to take him out. Partially because he won't hide from him either. And probably the most interesting piece of Marvel comic news I found is that over the last few months they've been reprinting the Miracle Man series from the 1980s. A lot of people said it was the precursor to modern comic books. Well, now that they're done with that, they've announced that they're actually going to come out with new Miracle Man stories, starting with the Miracle Man Annual on December 31st. It's going to be written by Peter Milligan and Mike Allred. I have not read Miracle Man, but that is one of those things that I think just about every deep comic fan knows that name. It's amazing they're going to produce new stories after all this time. I just hope it doesn't suck as much as the Watchmen prequels.
Yeah.
We have DC comic news, and that auction I've been following is over. That 9.0 Action Comics #1 from 1938. It finally sold. The final tally on this comic after 10 days of bidding, $3,207,852. And you know what? As much as I would have liked to have been involved in the bidding on this comic, there was also the realization that even if I got it, the first thing I would do is seal it in an airtight, light-proof box, and then bury it somewhere where no one would know where to find it. I might leave cryptic clues in my will on where to get it. Because goodness knows, that's one of those things where everyone would say, "Can I see your Action Comics?" No! No one can!
Yes, you can. Here's a picture.
No one sees the wizard. Speaking of DC Comics, they actually revealed what Superman is, who is the masked Superman that's been in Future's End for the past few weeks.
Oh, who?
Kind of surprised a lot of people to find out it's Billy Bastion, of all people.
That was actually pretty awesome, though.
I know, all this rivalry talk between comic book nerds about Captain Marvel versus Superman forever, and we find out that eventually Captain Marvel is Superman! Hadn't he been flirting with Lois Lane through most of the series, so I wonder if that's awkward for her. I mean, she'd be flirting with somebody, what, like 20 years younger than she is?
Yeah?
Not only that, Kal-El recently reappeared at the end of Future's End as well. So it definitively was not Superman in that Superman costume. I would like to know, though, in DC Comics, who came up with the Hellbat suit? It's as ridiculous as it sounds because he's getting ready to go into hell to rescue his dead son, Damien, and he decided to don an armor, which was forged in the sun by Superman, refined by the Green Lantern in space, looked like stress tested by the Flash at super speed, worked on by Cyborg to further refine it, pressure tested by Aquaman in the deepest depths, and then it looked like it was refined or tempered by Wonder Woman in the fires of Hephaestus's forge. The thing that was brilliant was when we tried to talk about this last week, Steve was the one who asked, okay, if she could do that, why not just send Wonder Woman to go get his son?
Yeah. I mean, she's got an in with Hades.
Yeah, she's the demigoddess. Why doesn't she just walk into hell and pry him out?
That's kind of the definition of a demigod quest right there.
Actually, in the comics, she was a demigoddess. That's right. She's currently the god of war.
Oh, well, even better.
She killed Ares. It's one of those things where it's Steve pointed out one of those plot holes bigger than a Mack truck.
I don't know, maybe I'm just reading too many things about Greek demigods and so forth.
The point. That's the sad part is we're not even DC Comics writers and we're asking this question. Why didn't you just go get him? Well, we can't sell books that way. V, you okay out there?
I was just about to make a comment. If you have questions about a plot, you should answer them and not just be like, well, we're going to do it this other way.
Well, unfortunately, we all know that the answer to these questions is because I'm Batman. Boy. Also, DC has named a new regular Justice League artist. They have hired, let me see, they've hired Jason Fabok to replace Jeff Johns. Or no, to write with Jeff Johns. He's replacing Ivan Rice and Joe Prado. Fabok is taking over as of Justice League 36, which looks like it's going to be the first full issue that has its new fully incorporated roster that includes Lex Luthor, Captain Cold, and Power Ring. When you have a Justice League that has both Superman and Shazam on it, is there really anything else you need?
Well, you got to have Batman to add, realism to it.
Realism, right.
That's what they're calling it these days.
Someone is, Steve.
Like the only way to make this team better is to get Chuck Norris. Holy fuck. There is a new writer that's trying to give Catwoman a pulpy noir mood, and possibly a second Catwoman in the series. There's going to be a new writer as of October, Genevieve Valentine. And she says that Selina Kyle's going to have a new gig as a crime boss, but that doesn't mean there won't be a Catwoman in Gotham. It looks like there's going to be a second character running around as Catwoman. That's not the first time it's happened in comics, but it's also insinuating that this Catwoman wants to kill Selina Kyle.
Well, there's a list of people she's pissed off.
Yeah, let's see, Batman and Bruce Wayne, Batman, and I think of Robin and Batman. Maybe Batgirl too, but definitely Batman. Last bit of DC comic news is one of those few cases where I can say, just take my fucking money already. You remember a while ago when we reviewed the Secret Six comics, the pre-New 52?
Sure.
It was written by Gail Simone. They just let out the bag that in July, Gail Simone is writing the new 52 version of the Secret Six.
Ooh. Who's in it?
I actually don't recognize most of the characters on here. One of them may be a former bird of prey known as Strix, but it's definitely someone in a Talon costume. Another one of Gail Simone's prior creations, Black Alice, is going to be in this book. But most importantly, the center and leader of this book has been confirmed to be Catman.
Oh, nice.
Catman?
Yeah, that claw-wielding psycho is making a new 52 appearance.
Huh.
Catman V is a character from comics that you could say is largely a throwaway. He was briefly in, Batman comics, and he's what you think. He was a Batman knockoff.
Okay.
Had a bunch of cat stuff. The character disappeared for decades. And then in the early 2000s, Gail Simone brought him back after he'd been in Africa and living with lions for a long time. Had some kind of cathartic response to the whole thing. And he came back to Gotham City with a vengeance, carrying a pair of spiked knuckles in the shape of, lion's claws.
Okay.
And he wanted to be a hero, but he's not willing to actually do things like send people to jail or arrest them. He wants to cut their throats open and leave them be.
Yeah,
So
I could actually probably get behind his justice a little more than Batman's.
His character was... the turnaround Gail Simone gave this character was very awesome and made him into one of the more popular characters in DC altogether.
Yeah, it didn't hurt either that, at least my introduction to the character was... what was the comic series that we read?
Secret Six.
Right, okay, yeah. So...
We read the pre-New 52 version of Secret Six. Now there's a new version.
Okay.
So he's coming back to the Secret Six.
Gotcha.
General comic news we'll leave alone for a little bit because that's actually the crux of one of our discussions this afternoon, so we'll come back to that. We have Anime Japan news. The biggest bit of that is that Hayao Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli, he's going to get a Lifetime Achievement Oscar. The guy responsible for animated classics on 2 continents like Spirited Away and...
Howl's Moving Castle?
Howl's Moving Castle. Princess Mononoke. He's getting his own Oscar.
Nice.
I just love the fact of how nonchalant he is. He's always kind of nonchalant about awards. Someone asked him about this Oscar he's getting. He said, quote, honestly, I don't think there's any need to give awards to people who have retired. But nonetheless, it's an honor, unquote.
I love how he keeps going with the whole, I'm retired thing.
Well, let's see if he sticks with it this time. I think it's his 13th retirement. Have you guys heard of T-Batman?
No.
Only because you talked about it last week.
T-Batman. There is a man in Chiba, Japan.
Oh, yeah.
Riding around a 3-wheeled motorcycle in full Batman regalia. I don't fucking know. He looks a little heavy on the profile of this bike, but he's a fan who, according to HitFix, went the extra mile to build his own authentic Batsuit and Batcycle to cruise down the Chiba Highway. That's east of Tokyo. I don't think he's done any crime fighting, but it's just weird to see this guy riding around. He just seems to enjoy hitting the open road as Batman and riding around for a bit. I love the story on Cinema Blend because it actually says, now let's pray there isn't a Chi Joker or a Chi Penguin in the works. It is a little bizarre. It has been announced that Persona 5 is going to come to the PS3 and PS4. Persona is a long-standing series of RPGs. It actually has enjoyed a bigger following since, I'd say, Persona 3.
Yeah.
At least in the US. They have released a trailer. It's a minute 19 long. It's all in Japanese, so I don't think I want to share it with you guys because you will be lost.
Fair.
But as far as anime fans, that's pretty decent news. Usually when it comes to Japan news, though, I usually have tales of sexual debauchery. I'm trying to tone back on that because it's becoming altogether too common. Here I have quite the opposite. There's a man who was arrested for photographing a woman. Not necessarily a new story compared to what we've had before, right?
Right.
Okay, he was arrested for photographing a fully clothed woman.
Wait, what?
Huh?
He's a 40-year-old employee of Kawasaki City and Kawasaki City's Environment Department. He was on board a train one evening when he supposedly decided to take a photograph of another passenger. He's a 21-year-old university student. No upskirt shots, no up close of her breasts. This is a full body shot of, only clipping off the bottom of her toes, which are still in her shoes. From a decent angle, too. And he was arrested for it.
For what?
Why?
As a lawyer explained, quote, anybody can be arrested for taking photos of an unprepared person. The anti-nuisance ordinance is applied in cases where a woman is made to feel embarrassed or uncomfortable by photography of her body. Her body includes her being fully clothed. So if you take photographs of a woman on the street and the police are called, you have committed a crime. Just pointing a camera or smartphone at her will be enough to trigger arrest. There's no need to actually take pictures, unquote.
Okay, I don't want to go visit Japan anymore. I don't want to go visit Japan anymore.
Oh my god.
Well, I guess in this case, make sure you ask if it's okay to take a picture before you just snap.
Normally common sense. You don't just, take somebody's
That's
picture.
normally just considered manners. In the case of the Japanese, that's a fucking felony.
Well, I would assume it's a misdemeanor, but even still.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where, God forbid, you're taking pictures and someone's skirt happens to blow up in a serious wind, man. You will be in jail faster than you can count each Nissan.
I just, for us, we've got photo bombing and all this other kind of stuff. It's like, oh my god, how many people would be fucking arrested daily?
I don't know. I guess you can argue in the case of photobombs, most people are actually trying to get in the photo.
But at the same time, some of those photobombs are actually just somebody else in the background doing something unrelated, and get included in it, and it becomes inappropriate because of their actions. And
that does explain some photos I've taken when I see Chinese or Japanese tourists in the shot, and they're always staring at me with that "the fuck are you doing" expression.
We're supposed to be taking pictures of you.
Call me racist. Have you ever had a sweet potato shake?
No.
McDonald's in Japan is rolling out a special purple sweet potato shake for a limited time.
I'd try it.
More power to them.
The flavor is Murasaki Imo, or purple sweet potato. It's not a yam. It's a fall food that comes in Japan. So it is a purple shake made out of purple potatoes.
Yeah.
Going on sale as of September 10th.
Okay.
I have no idea what that tastes like. It's a little intimidating to look at, because every time I see it, I'm like, ooh, grape. No, wait.
Well, that's like me. I stupidly ordered the green snow cone when I was in Japan, thinking, oh, apple. No, that was green tea.
I was about to say, wasabi! The Xbox One is launched in Japan over the past week.
Or that was a bomb.
Really? It just came out?
Yeah, it just came out. It was released last week, and I think there were more employees in most places than actual customers.
Wow.
Yeah.
There were places marked out with lines by cones that had no one in them. It was a very quiet affair on September 4th. It's one of those things that's kind of sad. It didn't work out well. I don't think that means they're going to end it, simply because everybody knows that the Xbox library right now is not very large. So it could turn around when Halo comes out. That could be a big seller.
Yeah.
Always has been.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of a callback, remember we were talking about Watch Dogs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The anime Kickstarter? I have a 2-minute trailer.
Okay.
Or not Watch Dogs, Under the Dog, excuse me.
Yeah. Watch the game.
Here you go. It's a trailer. It looks like they have a plan. We have digital orchestral music. It's very weird every time I see CIA of Japan. Ooh, birds. Okay, so far I see a lot of city.
Mm-hmm.
More city.
More birds.
There we go, a foot. I got a foot. And then, like most animes starts with schoolgirls.
That one isn't moving.
No, we have an emo here. We have the stoic skyscraper shot. She imagines how much she wants to murder the populace, I guess. Oh my god, her hair shot somebody.
Sunshine.
Oh, okay. Something dynamic finally happened. Okay, fuck, it's getting loud. Are those clones falling out of a window? Ooh. Knife to the skull is very bloody.
Ooh.
Fuck. Okay. I'll admit it. You have my attention. That was actually an interesting trailer. Just hope she doesn't stay mopey throughout the series. Fuck. For all I know, this could be a replay of Kite or something.
Yeah, that's what I was reminded of.
Okay. I'll try it. Not going to guarantee anything, but I'll try it. We have nerd interest news, where we talk about the geeky things that we enjoy because we like our science and technology. There is a next generation mooring tool for boats that is a pretty impressive piece of engineering. You guys have seen boats come into piers, right? Somebody generally has to jump off and tie these things before they get away.
Yeah. Watching up Dudley's catch.
Okay. Well, there's somebody's designed a pole tool that will actually wrap a line around a pole without somebody getting off the boat.
Oh, that's cool.
Check this thing out. You can see the GIF. In one pole motion, the ring that the line is attached to slides around the hook so that the person doesn't have to get off the boat to secure it.
Nice.
It is a freaky invention.
Yeah, it's
Really
almost
simple.
hypnotic watching it.
Yeah. It took me a couple of times of watching it replay to figure out the engineering behind it. But it's an impressive piece of work. This guy needs to sell this thing immediately. Granted, not a lot of the populace can use it, but the people that could use it have the money to buy it, like, right fucking now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything to save a little time and, safety is well worth the money.
It takes $35 every time Pedro jumps off the boat to tie me down. There was a... Thought I did okay there. There is a British man who was convicted of costing Universal Pictures $4 million. He did it by selling copies of Fast and Furious 6 online. His name is Philip Danks. He was 25 from Walsall, West Midlands. What he did was he sat in the back of a theater with a handy cam, recorded all of Fast and Furious 6, and then sold copies of it on the internet.
Yeah.
They managed to track him down because he used the same screen name for selling the copies that he used on his dating profile.
Idiot.
Yeah, not exactly the brightest person. Here's the thing, though. He was jailed by pulling down about $1,600. He was selling the copies cheap online for $1.50 a piece. He made about £1,000, which translates to $1,650. What they found out was that the cost of him doing this and the loss of those ticket sales of what he sold cost the studio $4.1 million.
Ooh.
He probably could have gotten off with a lighter sentence, but not long after he was arrested, 2 days later he made bail. He went home and put on Facebook, 7 billion people on the planet and I'm the first? Fuck you, Universal, unquote.
Oh, we're going to make an example out of you now.
They decided to fuck him back.
Oh, even better. While they were interviewing him, he was getting sentenced. They found out he may have done this with other films.
Oh, boy. Yeah, he ain't going to see a light of day for quite a while.
Yeah, gonna be a while before he gets fresh fish and chips. The first college in the U.S. is opened without a library. Florida Polytechnic University in Lakeland just opened. It has 550 students for the first day of classes. It has a gorgeous library building with no books in it. It is the nation's first all-digital college library.
I don't know how I feel about this.
You know what? As much as I enjoy books, I think this is better in the case of college students because no longer will students in this college hear that old phrase, "I'm sorry, they just checked it out."
Yeah.
That's true.
And
That's
it does
very
leave
true.
more room for users because, I mean, how... You don't have to spend all the space on storage.
Or haul those heavy
True.
books everywhere.
Yeah.
You will be spending on storage, just digital storage now. Your costs are just in a different place.
Yeah.
I just don't
But
want
there's
physical books to dial together.
Well, I do wonder what they're going to do with the library. Is it just going to be used as a giant study center? Because they have built a library.
Yeah.
Probably just a study center. Probably very hip and modern.
Well, old-fashioned books can be requested on loan from libraries, but they basically would have to have them shipped in from other universities around Florida. I don't know if I'd bother with that. If I could just get the digital copies, that would be much easier.
There's some
be good.
books that are.
I'll be
too
honest, it'll probably be
obscure
good
that.
for, like, textbooks and whatnot, but for, like, literature and, actual stories, I would rather have it in hand.
I would too, but times are changing. It's almost to the point where I got to get a digital reader just for the the way books are being sold nowadays. Although I'd have to get a digital reader because if I have anything that's regularly connected to the internet, I will not be using it to read books. I know me. We spoke about Deadmau5 earlier in the show.
Yep.
Turns out Disney's not the only people he fought with recently. He had to fight with Ferrari, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
He owned what he called the Ferrari. He bought a 458 Ferrari, right? One of the current model Ferraris.
Mm-hmm.
Then he wrapped it in blue vinyl. On that blue vinyl is little digital stars and a digital rainbow that connects to Nyan Cat, which is a cat with a Pop-Tart body.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to sell it. He was tired of his Ferrari. Nothing was really wrong with it. And I'll send you the link so you can take a look at it. It's the most unique Ferrari I've ever seen in my fucking life. So he was getting ready to sell this thing, and he was starting to talk to potential buyers. Ferrari itself, the corporation, got wind of this and gave him a cease and desist order. They didn't want him to keep the car. What they wanted him to do was remove all vinyl from it. They wanted to take all the graphics off the car.
What?
There wasn't much explanation why, and rather than fight this fight, Deadmau5 decided to just unwrap the car and sell it.
He probably got more money from it that way anyway.
I don't know, man. Some people might have bought it because this is a custom job. That's easily another $1,000 you can tag onto it.
Yeah.
Mm.
And he has a fan base. He might actually find someone willing to buy it. The question I have is whether or not Ferrari has some kind of extra rider when it comes to buying contracts that says they're not allowed to alter the cars. Maybe that's what they did the cease and desist over.
Yeah, I could see that being a thing.
Yeah. You know, expensive products sometimes have interesting contracts that go with them in buys.
Most of them don't make sense.
Yes. Well, speaking of no sense and expensive cars, have you seen the viral video where somebody's Bugatti Veyron veers into a reservoir?
No.
It's a car that costs over $1 million. And actually, I can send you the link to the viral. It's only a 25-second viral video. It was taken by someone's cell phone, probably somebody who just said, "Oh my God, look, supercar." But as they were filming, it did something rather unexpected. You can click the link there, and like I said, very short video. These are expensive cars. And then all of a sudden it takes a right.
That will be mine one day.
At the 11-second mark, well, no. Actually, at about the 14-second mark is where shit goes wrong.
Oh, he wrecked. Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Now, you can see from there that the car just suddenly turned right into the reservoir.
As if it had been told to do so.
Yeah. The owner of the car filed an insurance claim. And as a result, he has now been convicted of wire fraud. Here's the problem. The man is from Lufkin, Texas. He filed an insurance claim saying that he was distracted by his cell phone and a pelican that suddenly crossed in front of his car that caused him to veer into that reservoir.
But I see no such thing in the video.
Precisely. Because the video came out, they found out that there was no pelican. That prompted further testing on the car, right? And when you have a $1 million car, you want to save it when you do something this titanically stupid.
Oh, yes.
Okay, he left the engine running for 15 minutes after it hit the water. Now, normally when you have insurance fraud of this nature, you're going to get a level of money back, but you generally can't get the entirety of the car. Because of the unusual car, it turns out the driver had just had it insured for $2.2 million.
Ooh.
Yes, he tried to commit insurance fraud and wire fraud. He is now being sentenced for federal prison. 20 years.
Damn, I didn't know it was that steep.
Yeah, his sentencing has not been done yet, but he is up for a 20-year stretch under the maximum penalty for the laws he's busted. See, it's like we keep saying. Everybody is fucking YouTube nowadays. You can't get away with this shit anymore.
No.
V, you have to buy a ticket.
To where?
NASA has set a 2018 launch date for the rocket that's going to go to Mars.
Ooh.
There's that squeak sound
Yep.
again. What is that? NASA managers have approved the development of the rocket that's going to carry astronauts, live people, into deep space. It is the J2X.
I want to go.
The maiden flight of this SLS, the Space Launch System, is dubbed the EM-1, slated for November 2018. And it's going to send an uncrewed Orion spacecraft on a 3-week test flight beyond the moon. A year after that, this is a year later than officials relatively hoped. But if it's a successful test, that means it's time to select a crew. We'll miss you, V.
I wish.
Okay. Some people take their fandom a bit too far. One man has taken it to just the right place. Have you guys heard of James Hobson?
Not by name.
No.
He's sometimes known as the Hacksmith. He's the one who finished a homemade robotic suit that let him curl 171 pounds worth of cinder blocks.
Oh.
That's a lot.
Yeah, he's created his own exoframe. It's top-heavy, or it's the top only, which means there's no leg support. But with this suit, he's able to put 4 cinder blocks on a metal bar and curl it as if they don't weigh much of anything. Now, because there's no reinforcement for the legs, it's still a relatively difficult thing to do. You could harm yourself pretty easily. But as long as he could pick it up, he could curl it without much assistance. I have a video, but it's 6 minutes long, and I don't think you need that.
No.
But I do have an image of what this thing looks like, and it's relatively looks like simple reinforced rig. It looks like it is pneumatics. So, how long before he puts repulsor rays on this thing?
Let's require a few wires from an arc reactor.
Nice.
The chin beard is not helping. But it is nice to see that this guy is he's home engineered this thing. How much you want to bet as soon as the video went online, DARPA busted down his fucking door? Give it over. Did you hear about imposter cell phone towers across the U.S.?
Yeah.
No.
I heard about that.
There are 17 mysterious cell towers that have popped up in the U.S. that aren't part of any known cell network. Nobody knows where they've come from, but they've been intercepting communications and decoding them. The problem is that they found out that all 17 of these installations are near government bases and installations.
Ooh. Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, there's somebody that's been walking around with what they call a cryptophone. It measures what cell towers are taking in and what they do to the signal. When they get near these towers, they found out that what the towers are attempting to do is not only stream the transmission through it, but they also have decoding programs in them. They can decrypt information.
Oh boy.
Still don't know where these things have come from.
Yeah, of course we don't.
Well, not everything can be the Chinese.
I was going to say the lizard people.
Well, the NSA has openly said, we don't know what the fuck these things are.
That will tell you.
Man, have you guys heard about the portable Oculus?
No.
No, but I'm not shocked.
Well, it turns out that Oculus has a partner in this particular project, Samsung. This must be a gut punch that Apple does not enjoy. What they've done is they've created a visor rig. And the the Galaxy Note 4 has a program that will open up a 3D viewer similar to the Oculus, the left and right screens. Then you put the Galaxy Note 4 into this rig, put a plastic case around it to protect it, then you strap the whole thing to your head. You can have a portable VR rig.
Nice.
Nice.
Apple was getting ready to announce the iPhone 6 this week. I'm sure they were saying money, 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 money. And then middle of last week, Samsung comes out with this thing. Oh, by the way, we're doing 3D.
No.
That's when Apple said, oh, fuck. By the way, Apple, what have you got? You have 2 different iPhone 6s.
Down with Apple.
Last bit of nerd interest news I have is that Swedish children are learning English via RPGs.
Oh, awesome.
Didn't we already do this? This sounds so familiar.
No, remember we talked before about how the Swedes were learning certain lessons through LARPing. Now they're learning English language through pop culture, And they're doing it thanks to the rise of online multiplayer gaming like Call of Duty and League of Legends and MMOs like World of Warcraft.
That makes sense.
I don't know how to swear in that.
Because the games are predominantly English language with servers for German, French, Spanish, and Russian, English has become the lingua franca for budding gamers across the continent who are coming together to play games. In other words, Swedes are learning colloquial English to learn to play games. Therefore, they're becoming better at English.
Than us.
Yeah. Yep. Well, now that I've said better for English, I realized I should have said more proficient in English. My English teacher would beat the shit out of me. Last we have our what?
Never mind. Nothing.
Okay. Well, last we have our What the Fuck corner, where we just sit around and talk about all the news from the week that make us go, the fuck happened here? First off is the news that Hello Kitty is not a cat.
Okay.
This had major national headlines when it was announced by Sanrio, the Japanese company that created Hello Kitty. Quote, Hello Kitty is not a cat.
Is not a
She's
cat.
A cartoon. Correct. She's a cartoon character. She is a little girl. She is a friend, but she is not a cat. She's never depicted on all fours. She walks and sits like a two-legged creature. She does have a pet cat of her own, however, and is named Charmy Kitty, unquote. Well,
I like that they felt like they had to go out of their way to explain this.
I don't know where this exactly came from, but last week this was major news, like on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess my question is, if it looks like a cat, isn't it a cat? Because all you're saying is that she's an English schoolgirl. Does that mean she has some kind of weird furry fetish?
Apparently.
This is so odd.
You know what?
They still haven't said whether or not Karopi is a frog. I did like Peanut's reaction. They sent out on Twitter not long after this, we can confirm Snoopy is a dog.
I'm going to use Groot as an example. He walks around like a normal person, but he's still a fucking plant.
Yeah, you can say the same thing about Kim Kardashian.
Oh.
That palm tree learned to walk. Thank you. Thank you.
You're here all week.
No, I have a life, thank you. We have the 12 most obnoxious Dungeons and Dragons monsters.
Displacer Beast! Actually,
Nope.
I don't think so.
That name has not come up in any of the 12. How many do you want?
Wait, what, are we bidding now?
Well, we have 12 monsters. Do we want 12?
Let's go for it.
You want 12? I don't hear 12. Do we?
12.
You want all 12?
All 12.
Oh, fuck you. You're going to test my reading skills now. First off, are rust monsters.
Oh, I can see that. Ooh, I should have my players fight one.
She's going to take notes just so you can piss off people. The description paragraph, quote, there are a lot of creatures from our most memorable D&D monsters list here. This is not a coincidence. This is because people tend to remember the monsters that completely screwed them over better than monsters that didn't. The most classic obnoxious D&D monster has to be the Rust Monster, which should be nothing more than a larger-than-normal aggressive prawn-armadillo hybrid, but is, in fact, completely terrifying because it destroys players' weapons and armor, leaving them defenseless and offensiveless, at which point even a large prawn-armadillo can be a problem. More importantly, the Rust Monster does not discriminate, and it will destroy super powerful magical weapons and armor just as easily as normal ones, which just terrifies players. I've seen characters that can kill dragons without breaking a sweat run screaming from Rust Monsters. Unquote.
As it should be.
Yeah. I had not heard of that prior.
I've heard of them. I've never actually faced one.
It.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard of number 2, Shadows.
Yes.
According to IO9, quote, any adventuring party with decent experience and a mage or priest probably won't have too much trouble against a shadow, which is, wait for it, a shadow that can hurt you. But for the low-level party, a shadow can be as deadly as any dragon. The only way shadows can be harmed is with certain magical spells and enchanted weapons, and if you don't have enough of either, all you can do against a shadow is run someplace well-lit and hope for the best. Otherwise, you're all a bunch of doofuses swinging your swords around wildly while you slowly but surely are stabbed to death, unquote. Number 3 and 4 on this list are in the same paragraph, lurkers and trappers. This was also a phrase I was not familiar with. V?
I don't think I've played against either of those.
Okay, well, I can imagine how this would bring a game to a grinding halt, because everything changes after your party would encounter this. Quote, when D&D was originally created, monsters were designed almost exclusively to kill adventurers as they explored dungeons, which usually meant the monsters were designed to kill players with 4th with force, or with guile. In the latter category, monsters that disguise themselves as ordinary things were popular among DMs and hated among PCs, few more so than the Lurker and Trapper, who were basically killer ceilings and floors, respectively.
Oh,
the Lurker was...
Yeah, I haven't seen these in most games. I think I've played against a couple PC versions.
Yeah, lurkers I've played against.
The Lurker was a giant manta ray that clung to the ceiling and dropped on adventurers. The Trapper waits until someone walks over it and then wraps up its victims. Just one of these guys, and you'd make players stab the floors and ceilings of every room they walk into, unquote.
Paranoia.
Yes.
Oh,
I need to
tell me
use
you
this
wouldn't
also.
start if I introduced that in any game, man. Everybody would just look at the floor and go, kill the rook. Number 5 is a popular one among DMs, Mimics.
Yes, I love mimics. Oh my god, I just used one not too long ago.
Quote, in the same vein, the Mimic is a creature that can look like pretty much anything stone or wood, like a door, but usually settles as a treasure chest because the humans who enter the dungeons where they live are almost exclusively greedy assholes. The Mimic skin is incredibly adhesive, so adventurers who try to open the chest are stuck, and the Mimic sprouts a pseudopod to bludgeon its prey to death, or at least unconscious. The best part of a dungeon master using a Mimic, much like lurkers and trappers, is forcing players to carefully poke every other treasure chest they see with a stick for the rest of the adventure, unquote. God, you gotta love player paranoia. It just stops everything.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6 was something I had not heard of, House Hunters.
I haven't heard of either.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Quote, House Hunters are a special breed of Mimic that basically disguise themselves as buildings. Young ones are sheds, while ancient ones can look like entire temples or towers. Think having a ceiling-sized manta ray fall on you is annoying? Try having an entire room try to eat you, and then realizing all the rooms around you also want to eat you too, unquote.
Awesome.
I want to use this also. You're giving me so many ideas.
Could you imagine the next time somebody plays one of V's game? Man, this is a strange-looking house. Why does the carpet look like a tongue, man? Number 7 on this list is gas spores. When I read this, I hated the idea, and I've never run into one. Quote, beholders are pretty deadly and terrifying all by themselves. So add gas spores to your adventure is really nothing but a sign that you hate your players. The gas spore looks exactly like a beholder, except that when a panicked fighter desperately stabs at it, it explodes. Its entire existence is to trick PCs into hitting it and then blowing up, doing an immense amount of damage, especially to the poor dope standing next to it. The gas spore is pretty clear proof that evolution is fake in the realm of Dungeons & Dragons because they were so clearly designed. Not intelligently designed, just designed. The next one I'd also never heard of, and this is a mouthful. A Room of Vorax.
I have heard about this, and I am using it.
Quote, although there is no score in Dungeons & Dragons, there are actually 2 ways for players to keep score. Gold and experience points. We'll get to the latter below, but as for gold, well, half the reason anyone bothers entering a dungeon in the first place is the hope of finding the treasures inside. So the Arum Vorax is a particularly terrifying monster in that it eats the gold players have so carefully accrued. It looks like an evil 8-legged badger, but it's also quite an asshole and will definitely mess you up if you interrupt it when it's dining on your savings account, unquote. That's one reason for players to pee themselves.
That is a vicious little critter.
Speaking of vicious, number 9 is the Bag of Devouring. V?
I assume that it's kind of like a mimic, but it eats you.
No.
Something like.
It's actually something I expect to find in your next game. Quote, although frequently thought of as a cursed magical item, a Bag of Devouring is in fact a creature, albeit one living in another dimension whose mouth just happens to coincide with the bag's opening. So not only do players lose what they stick in there, which can include magical items like potions, magical rings, and most especially sweet gold pieces, if they put their hands in there and try to find something, the bag creature takes as a sign dinner is served. And it's not like this thing just bites off hands. The bag opens wide and tries to devour the poor bastard whole. If he's successfully eaten, the dude is digested within a single round. So not only does the player lose his character, he has to tell people he fought a purse and lost.
Yeah, we have a friend that likes playing games, and he takes cursed items because this is, while it is a creature, it is considered a cursed item in the fact that it mimics a bag of holding, in that, oh yeah, I throw everything in it and it doesn't get any bigger, but so he wanted to take a butterfly net and stick the bag on there and just, swoop enemies.
Whoop.
Well, the last three are actually on the same paragraph. Whites, vampires, and succubi. I'm sure everybody who's played D&D has heard those names.
Oh, yeah.
Quote, while you may have noticed that most of the monsters on this list do one of two things. Trick complacent players or take something away. In the latter category, there's nothing more terrifying to a D&D player than the threat of taking away his experience points. XP determines almost every aspect of a character's power, including hit points, spells, and other status effects. So guess what whites, vampires, and succubi have in common? Besides being undead, they have the energy drain ability, which can destroy a massive amount of XP. As mentioned before, even more than gold, XP is the unofficial way players keep score. If they lose what they worked so hard to acquire, they are forced to kill another 100 kobolds in order to graduate from 5th to 6th level. Well, it's a fate worse than death for many players. Literally, because if your character dies and is resurrected, they usually end up at the same level. By the way, the most obnoxious of the three undead monsters is likely the succubus. Mainly because when your characters fight vampires and whites, you don't have to keep making save throws to try not to have sex with them.
That's
Really,
true.
succubuses are undead? I thought they were demons.
They're
They are.
demons. But they have the level drain ability. They're
Yeah.
kiss.
So, those are the most obnoxious monsters in D&D, according to IO9.
Yeah, Jesse and I found one that we thought was kind of evil as well, just against low-level characters, because a lot of people like getting masterwork stuff at low levels because it's a little cheaper than magic and still gives you a +1 to hit. But, and I can't think of the name of it. It's a Fae, I think.
No, it's a construct.
No,
It is a
it's not a
construct. It is a construct.
Okay, what is it?
It's basically it's a statue that if you hit it with anything, it has a chance to break your weapon.
Oh, no, I was talking about the Fae, the one that gets the... there's a spell in the game called Shatter. And this creature gets it...
Spriggan!
Yeah, oh, the Spriggans, that's what it was. Yeah, this thing gets it as a spell-like ability, and basically this spell does not work on anything that is magical. But it does work on masterwork items as well as potions and stuff like that. So if you get a starter alchemist, hell, any alchemist, or your nice little masterwork, great sword or something like that, and it just goes shatter. It gets no saving throw, and you just screwed a fighter out of any kind of dangerous ability.
That's terrible. Well, let me see. Pushing along. God, this drives me insane. George R. R. Martin has decided to reveal one of the chapters he's working on in his next Game of Thrones books.
He's done that a couple of times.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he's decided to take it from a new point of view.
Oh.
What?
Nothing.
Well, he usually has point of view characters like Bran or Robb Stark or Jon Snow, Daenerys Targaryen. He's decided to write the latest chapter from the point of view of a different character. I sent you a link to the page he presented.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Okay. He's decided to write his latest chapter from the viewpoint of Hodor, which has the phrase, quote, Hodor, 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 and it goes on like this. In other words, I think this is his way of saying, stop fucking bothering me.
Yeah.
This one drives me insane, though. What's your response when you can't hear your TV, when people are talking too loudly, you're doing something? What do you do?
Turn up the volume.
Turn it up.
Okay. There was a building in China where a guy was working outside. He had to drill holes in the side of the building for something. There was a 10-year-old in the building who didn't like that his TV was being interrupted, and instead of turning up the volume, he started sawing through the worker's safety rope.
Oh, Jesus.
The guy saw it. He felt the rope shaking. He yelled at the boy to stop. The boy didn't stop, and the rope broke. He clinged to the outside of the building and yelled to his coworker for help, who thankfully threw down another rope and pulled him in. 40 minutes after that, firemen helped rescue him, and police questioned the boy, who admitted to what he did. The kid's dad came home and apologized to the worker.
Yeah. I'll be like, I'll accept your apology by letting you watch me beat the fuck out of this kid.
No, I wouldn't let him watch me beat the fuck out of him because he'd be first. Fuck's sake, you raised this thing.
Well, I
Yeah.
would be the one beating him. I want to watch the father beat him because that's the only way.
No, I'd have to beat the shit out of both of them.
No.
The son's a dick and the father's an idiot, obviously.
I don't know. if the kid hasn't tried to do it before, you don't know exactly how the child is going to react in certain situations. I
don't know how many people have been building. I don't know how many people have been doing construction on a new high-rise before where this kid's lived.
I don't know. But I'm sure the dad.
You would
didn't go
think
out
that there
and
would
say,
be things
you know,
like,
oh yeah, if anybody ever fucks with you, cut the rope.
Well, we've heard recently that Manimal is getting its own big screen remake. Don't know why. But that's not the only odd thing happening. The directors of the Lego Movie have decided to take their own shot at 80s action TV shows. They're going to create a big screen remake of The Greatest American Hero. For those that don't know, The Greatest American Hero was an 80s, I guess you could say sci-fi show, but it was a quasi-comedy where a man is visited by aliens and given a super suit. It allows him to fly and develop all kinds of powers and vulnerability, strength, and all this. Problem was, he lost the instruction manual.
He was never given the instruction manual.
As far as I knew, he lost it.
I don't know. It was delivered to him by aliens, so I can't remember. It has been a while.
Yeah. He has to learn the powers by trial and error. He's an inner-city teacher. Which I guess if you're doing a 90s remake means he hears yo, yo, yo a fucking lot. But he has to deal with a government handler who sends him on missions to use this suit. Oh, this could be a train wreck. You know what? Baseball season is getting towards the playoffs right now, isn't it?
I guess.
I think some teams are already being mathematically eliminated from playoff play. But the average pitcher, I've noticed, only seems to last about 6 innings in a game these days. I seem about right?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn, Jesse, you're just like as athletic as Larry Flint. Here's the thing. There was a high school game in Japan, went 50 innings.
50?
Over 4 days.
Holy crap.
The problem is that this was a tournament game. It was a semifinals in a high school tournament. Tokyo High School and Sotoko High School were held scoreless for just about the entire time. During the 50 innings, it was in the 50th inning that finally Tokyo broke the tie with 3 runs. Okay, here's the thing why I'm building the comparison to the pitchers in the U.S. Like I said, a lot of pro pitchers are generally out by the 6th inning. I don't know if they're saving them for later, if their arm can't take it, or what. During this entire 50-inning game in Japan, the one that stretched 4 days, both starting pitchers volunteered to continue pitching the entirety of the game.
Whoa.
And I mean, they had the option, both of them had the option of stepping back. No, both of these kids, high school kids, said, no, I'm going to keep going. No, I'm going to keep going. 4th day, fuck you, I'm still going.
Their arms are still attached?
Dude, this thing went on so long that the the Tokyo team actually had to play later that day, I think, in the championship.
Damn.
If it wasn't later, yeah, they had to play the championship game just hours later. Yeah, and you wanted the weird thing? Tokyo won 2-0.
Wow.
Fuck. They used a different pitcher to start the game, but the original pitcher of that 50-inning game, he was called to pitch relief. And he did it.
Damn.
So I've come to the opinion that American pro ball players, bunch of pussies. They had no rules in Japan for when things went on this long in a tie. They only had one rule applicable, and that is if the game somehow reached the 54th inning, the game had to be decided via coin flip. They're now in the middle of drafting new rules so that they don't have to do this again.
Yeah.
Although, you know, that's the unusual story of Japanese sports. The unusual story I have of American sports is nowhere near as glorious. Eastern Michigan. They have not steel gray. They have a concrete gray field. Never seen it. But for the sake of the concrete gray field, for their season opener in football, they decided that their players were going to bust through a cinder block wall. You know, just a symbolic thing about their toughness and everything. I guess I need to ask what exactly this thing was built out of because the players couldn't break through it. The cinder block wall held up to the point where 2 players were given sledgehammers to break it down.
That's hilarious.
It's like I know you need a cinder block wall for the sake of your symbolism there, but did you actually have to make a cinder block wall?
It does seem a little overkill.
Yeah. IO9 did put out an interesting article of the 5 craziest things pets have ever swallowed revealed via X-ray.
Okay.
I'll send you the first URL. See if you can guess what he swallowed.
Oh boy.
A 5-month-old male kitten swallowed this. What do you think?
Somebody's keychain?
Toy alien.
Okay.
Okay.
Due to the quote-unquote thumbs of the toy, it couldn't be moved retrograde, and the intestine had to be incised to take it out. In other words, the poor cat couldn't vomit it up.
Wow.
The kitten did well post-op. Okay.
I bet she doesn't eat anything like that again.
Oh, I was probably going to think twice. V, are you all right? And she's muted.
Fucking.
And unmuted. How about this? I sent you guys a second picture. Guess what this dog swallowed?
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are good.
Okay. Yeah, let me tell you, it is fucking gross when a cat swallows something and can't vomit it up. My cat chewed off the end of his brush.
What the hell is that?
I'm assuming some kind of action figure. I think I see a foot.
You mean that thing off to the right?
No.
See,
the thing on the bottom.
I can't tell.
I will tell you now, because I know you guys aren't going to guess this on your own. I had to read it to figure out what this is. Look towards the center, just off to the left. You can vaguely make out the shape of a rubber duck.
Rubber ducky, you're the one. Rubber ducky.
Now, the owner of this dog said she was watching her son in the tub and saw her dog, named Woof, W-O-O-F, come in, nose around the water, and just swallow a duck.
No fanfare or anything, just swallow duck?
Just swallowed the duck and walked off. So she took it to the vet, who had to open up the stomach and take this thing out. When he opened it up, he found
other things?
I guess, 4 3/4 rubber ducks.
That's
One of
awesome.
them was rather well digested.
Wow.
Okay, I have another one. Here's number 3 out of 5. As you can tell by the size of the stomach, there was a problem with this dog.
Yeah.
Looks like he ate a couch.
Close.
Pillow?
No. How about you, Jesse? Got any guesses?
I have no clue.
Okay. Well, what you're staring at is 43 1/2 socks. I'm not quite sure how the half sock plays into it, but they did open this dog up and remove 43 1/2 socks.
It's amazing.
Isn't it, though? Okay, the next one might be more obvious than the others. This came from... Let me see. This came from the stomach of a 2-year-old pug named Stella. She vomited 40 times overnight due to this.
I don't know.
A shade? No.
No? V, how about you?
It's gotta be
A
something
personal
plastic.
massager?
I like that guess, but no. Jesse, how about you?
I don't know. I see the top of a bottle, but the rest of it looks... Is that a bottle?
Okay. Well, it's not any of those things. What you are staring at is $1.29 in change.
Okay, I see it now.
It's a quarter and 104 pennies.
Wow.
And according to the story on IO9, the patient recovered fine, but the $1.29 did not go towards her bill. The last one is more unusual than the others in that it should be fairly obvious to you guys. This came from a lizard. A bearded dragon, actually named Dragon.
Moon?
No, I like that. Jesse, what do you think?
Looks like a banana.
It's a runt.
Oh,
It's a Actually, I'll read you the quote that the little girl said. Quote, "That's where Barbie's banana went," unquote.
I thought it was one of those runts candies.
yeah, I was thinking that too.
That was fun. That was a fun guessing game. Let's see. Russian newspapers. I know that Russia and the U.S. do not have the best of relations right now.
Oh,
That
God,
much is
this.
obvious. Okay. Russian newspapers decided to run a documentary recently about soldiers in the U.S. And they found a poster that they ran with as part of the story. I sent you guys a link to the poster that they played.
Yeah, I was just looking at this yesterday at the barbecue.
Yeah, it actually says on it,
Oh my.
"Soldiers eat babies. That's a fact."
But underneath that, it says, "Think of the children. Join Team Demo Man today and make those monsters pay." It's a freaking ad from Team Fortress 2.
It's not an ad, actually. It's a DeviantArt picture.
Okay,
It's fan art.
yeah, but even still, it's you know,
We all know we've seen more
denigrating the
embarrassing
soldier
stuff than
class from Team Fortress 2, and yeah.
this. Yeah, it's stupid. It's just stupid. The last story I have in What the Fuck News. I have the 7 dumbest plans the Decepticons ever had on the Transformers cartoon.
Oh, I saw that.
That's
I
a
did
long
click on
list.
Well, I mean, there have been worse, but these are the worst plans. The first one was the plan for incapacitating radio technology. You guys want the description?
it. No.
Sure.
Quote, "Whenever Megatron hears about a new bit of technology getting invented anywhere around the world, there's always at least a 50% chance he's going to steal it and try to use it to rule the world, no matter what the device actually does. Case in point, in Blaster Blues, a scientist creates the Voltronic Galaxer, which supposedly takes Earth communications, translates them, and broadcasts them into space to search for non-transformer-based signs of life. Megatron steals it and somehow uses it to jam all radio transmissions, which, yes, is immensely troublesome, especially for the 1980s flight industry, but doesn't exactly put the world at risk. So flights are grounded because they can't reach a control tower, and you can't get the classic rock station on your drive. Big whoops! I have no idea how Megatron was planning on achieving anything with this plan, although it didn't matter since the Autobots Blaster and Cosmos snuck into the Decepticon base and blew up the Galaxer almost immediately.
That poor
plan
scientist.
Plan number 2 was starting a drone army. Quote, "When you hear the Decepticon scheme and make tracks, it actually sounds pretty solid at first. Recruit a bunch of human street gangs to steal cars and deliver them to the Decepticons, where they turn them into unthinking drones with the power to turn into also unthinking but armed robots. The problem is that these drones are basically not more than unthinking Transformers, meaning they're less effective than the Decepticons. So what chance would they possibly have against the Autobots when they kick the theoretically intelligent Decepticons every week? Second, the only real advantage these drones present is if they were used to bolster the Decepticons' numbers, but instead of combining forces, Megatron sends the drones by themselves, and of course they get their asses kicked. The fact that the Decepticons have subcontracted out their entire war with the Autobots to street gangs and robots is highly telling. But anyway, since the drones are also remote control, it only takes the Autobots a few minutes to jam their signal and render the Decepticons' half-assed army useless."
Yeah.
The third one actually sounds stupid. Stealing a random box. Quote, "To call whatever the hell Megatron thinks he's doing in Hoist Goes Hollywood a plan is being exceedingly generous. But it's clear the Decepticons thought they were achieving something when Dirt stole a mysterious black box from the Autobots, even if they don't know how the device worked. In fact, Megatron is so sure of its importance that he orders the Decepticons to destroy all footage of the device, because the Autobots have somehow fallen into a Hollywood movie production, which managed to catch the box on film, so no one will know about the box, even though the Autobots invented it and they have object permanence technology, meaning they remember things even without those things being in their direct sight. So the Decepticons spend the entire episode trying to destroy this film footage, and the Autobots go through an elaborate scheme involving fake lava in order to pretend to destroy the footage, even if only so they can watch it and figure out what the hell the Decepticons want it for. When Wheeljack sees the box, he says it's junk, although he doesn't bother explaining what the hell it is. So the Decepticons never even got close to achieving anything, really."
Oh my.
The fourth one, this is a childhood memory of one of the worst episodes of Transformers I've ever seen. Dismembering Optimus Prime.
Oh.
Quote, I know. On its surface, dismembering Optimus Prime sounds like the best thing the Decepticons could ever hope to accomplish. And when you consider it was a freebie during their real plan to turn New York City into its own little Cybertron, well, I excuse you for thinking that City of Steel shows the Decepticons at the top of their game. But not hardly. Here's how they divvy up Optimus. They turn part of him into an alligator. They put his arm on top of the Empire State Building and have it shoot at things. And Megatron keeps the head functional to laugh at it. So while the rest of the Decepticons are busy turning taxis into killer cars, because we know how well that always works out, the Autobots catch Alligator Prime, steal Optimus's head out of a storage closet, and insult Megatron until he breaks the panel controlling Optimus's arm, at which point Optimus remotely uses it to kick the Decepticons' ass. Even though the Decepticons managed to transform half of New York City, the fact that they weren't defeated by a single Autobot, they were defeated by a single Autobot's limb, that's just pitiful.
Yeah, I remember that.
I
remember that one, yes. God, that was horrible.
Okay, do you guys remember building a big-ass purple griffin?
No.
What?
Quote, in aerial assault, Megatron and the Decepticons help a man named Ali dispose of the Prince Jamal, the ruler of his vague Middle Eastern country, in exchange for oil. Sure, that tracks. It's part 2 of this plan that makes no sense. Ali and the Decepticons start stealing airplane parts and reassembling them to make more drones. Despite that didn't work at all and make tracks. However, to bolster these forces, Megatron has inexplicably made a giant purple robot griffin to help. But the Autobots take care of the Decepticons, the drones, and the griffin alike. It all ends with Bruticus laying face down in an oil field and the Autobots setting it on fire. For extra confusion, it turns out Ali is Prince Jamal, who deposed himself and hung out with the Decepticons solely because he liked building airplanes. Or something. That was hard to read, fuck. Number 6 is a classic in cartoons, drilling to the core of the Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Quote,
I remember that.
Prior to trying to get his metal hands on oil or energon or other energy sources from the planet's surface, Megatron decided to go geothermal and drill to the core of the planet in the aptly named The Core. Of course, this is probably going to cause Earth to explode, but Megatron isn't particularly concerned, despite the fact that the entire reason he's on Earth is because he needs energy, because his home planet doesn't have any. But this plan does get stupider. When the Autobots stage a commando raid to put controller discs on Devastator, who is the drill's guardian, Megatron lets them because he thinks he can override the discs. Of course, he's never bothered to make sure this was true, and when he tries the override, Devastator freaks out, starts attacking Autobots and Decepticons, and of course, breaks the drill, which sadly is a much better end than Megatron was actually trying to achieve. The last one, oh my god, I have bad memories of this. And the story on IO9 just calls it whatever the hell this was. Quote, in the excruciatingly titled episode Autobop, the Decepticons do things, but I defy you to describe any of these accomplishments as a plan. For instance, the Decepticons have inexplicably started a dance club called Dancetron. They have done this in order to use music to hypnotize the club patrons, which they have done for the sole purpose of constructing a building. Why do they want a building? No idea. Why bother to hypnotize random people into constructing said building instead of concentrating on construction workers? No clue. Why not use the resources used to enact this ridiculous Dancetron scheme to actually hire a construction company? Or maybe just purchase an empty building? Note, this is one of the very, very few episodes where Soundwave laughs. Which is all the proof I need that the Decepticons were high during this entire That last line really just kind of rams it home, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, we were supposed to talk about the first volume or the first book of Annihilation this week. However, I have called an audible because of the general comic news. The general comic news is rather serious in that we found out that as of last week, the San Diego City Council voted to end all work at current on the expansion to the San Diego Convention Center. Some people would say that, well, fuck that, doesn't mean anything. It actually means quite a bit, because when San Diego Comic-Con signed its latest contract with the city to expand into 2016, that was with the expansion coming.
Yeah.
So this, I think it was 225,000 square feet that was going to be added to the building is not happening at current. This is actually kind of a major problem.
Oh?
Well, let's put it this way. San Diego Comic-Con has been or Comic-Con, I should say, has been in San Diego since I can remember. I don't even know when it began there. But ever since it was small, it was in this building. The San Diego Convention Center is not the largest exhibit hall in California. I think Los Angeles actually has the biggest exhibit hall space, but Los Angeles does not have continuous exhibit hall space.
Right.
It's two buildings. It was originally one building, the South Hall. The West Hall was built later, and they connected the two via a bridge. But that means you have this either a sky bridge you have to cross, or you have this uncovered space you got to walk behind the bridge to get to the other half of the hall. It's because of that although the exhibit space is the largest, this is the reason why E3 is moving out of Los Angeles, because they want a building with contiguous exhibit hall space. The head of E3 actually said that Los Angeles isn't even a priority on his list.
Wow.
And E3 has been here for quite a long time.
Yeah.
So this is really kind of an issue. Actually, it's a big issue. Because, I mean, when you look at it this way, I know we all have plans of trying to get to San Diego in 2015 for Comic-Con. You know, we know that the badges for Comic-Con for everything, including preview night, are going to run about $220. It's a small increase from last year. We also know that that Comic-Con brings $18 million in commerce to the businesses in San Diego.
Wow.
It's nothing to sneeze at. We also know that the city has spent $10 million thus far on this expansion project that they've, I don't want to say canceled, but they have to rework. The crux of all this is that the project itself was supposed to cost $520 million. That money was slated to come from an extra tax they were going to tack onto hotel charges. A lawyer appeared and gave him a legal challenge, which unfortunately had a lot of ground, in that the city is not allowed to bring in new taxes without bringing it to a two-thirds vote of the people.
Yeah.
And the people have voted down similar tax measures in the past, so the city just feels it's not worth it to produce in this format. Which is fucking irritating, because that would have been a great way to bring in money that didn't actually cost the populace.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shoot, the taxes on next year's Comic-Con, for all we know, could have paid that. Fuck.
Yeah.
It's also the idea that $520 million is an amount that technically you could probably get from any single hotel chain, but the hotels have varying interests in the city. I think Marriott has like 4 hotels there. I know Hilton has at least 2. I think 3. Westin has 1. So how do you get them to pay? You can't make them pay equally because they don't all have the same interest. And if you get any one to pay more than the others, does that mean they get preferential treatment?
Yeah. And if they don't get preferential treatment, why are they interested?
Right, why would they even give money?
Yeah.
Fucking capitalism, right?
Indeed.
So we have a bit of a sticky wicket here. Now, the head of Comic-Con has come forth. I believe one of their chief officers, and he's actually said that they're working with the city to try and find a workaround, which is good news altogether, because you don't want Comic-Con to just stop cold.
Mm-hmm.
But David Glanzer was the man who said, quote, "Any decision to remain in San Diego has always been based on a variety of issues, including hotel room rates, available meeting space, and other concerns, none of which necessarily override the other. We are grateful to the mayor, city officials, hoteliers, and convention center staff that have worked to help mitigate our space concerns, and are happy that we have a continuous dialogue with those entities. We hope there will be a solution that allows Comic-Con to stay in San Diego for years to come." Unquote. Now, on the surface, that sounds fine. But there's still the idea that this statement could also be a way of trying to get San Diego to wake up and give them something. Because goodness knows there's a few cities across the U.S. that could probably handle Comic-Con. New York is one of them.
Yeah, because they do the East Coast version.
Yeah. I would say that Atlanta would probably have to be in the running just because of the overall size and scope of Dragon Con. I don't think they have a convention center per se, but over half of Comic-Con isn't commerce so much as it is news and panels. Meeting space is a really big deal, and if you can hold Dragon Con out there, I'd say you could probably hold Comic-Con. Obviously, Las Vegas would have to be in the running. You want to talk about an area with meeting space and hotels? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But the only problem is it would be ungodly hot out there in the fucking end of July.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I know it has convention area and so forth, but I don't know if it's contiguous.
I couldn't say. I have not looked up any Las Vegas buildings. I do know for sure that there's no building currently in California that could handle it if they decide to move away from San Diego. San Francisco and Oakland don't have big enough buildings. Anaheim technically has big enough convention space, but they don't have near as much meeting spaces as San Diego. I think we can agree to that.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think they have as many hotels in the area.
No, they have a shit ton of motels, but not as many hotels. I mean, when I was there for WonderCon in April, they were building 2 new hotels, but still, that's nowhere near what San Diego had.
Yeah.
Then again, though, San Diego has an unusual shuttle system, so they might actually be able to use the hotels from a couple of townships.
Yeah, my thing is, they did sign the contract knowing that it wasn't a done deal yet. So they may have had contingencies in place.
Well, the thing is, because of the break in the expansion project, that would probably also... I wouldn't doubt it if Comic-Con was smart enough to put a writer in the contract that says they could probably break it at this point if they wanted to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people screaming that the sky is falling and 2015 is in jeopardy. I think it's safe to say that 2015 is going to occur regardless of what happens with the expansion.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like the expansion was going to get done before they had it next year.
No, it was supposed to break ground in 2014. I think the building was supposed to happen through to like mid-2016.
Yeah, so...
I think the additional problem, though, is... in moving quickly, Comic-Con is too big to move quickly. There's a lot of things you would have to figure out to house 130,000 people.
Yeah.
Or you would have to lower your cap, which means obviously less potential funds for Comic-Con or anybody else that's involved with it, since Comic-Con's a non-profit. But the thing is that Comic-Con has so many third-party events that goes on around it, I don't think they can pick up and move that quickly, simply because part of the commerce is the fact that Comic-Con is a ghost-friendly convention. You don't have to go to the convention to have fun at the convention.
Yeah, I had plenty of fun, and I was only able to go to the convention one day.
Yeah. So I think it's safe to say Comic-Con's a festival. Everything goes on out there. It doesn't require a badge necessarily. It may require extra tickets. It doesn't necessarily require a badge. I mean, fuck, in the 4 days I went, what the fuck? I ran away from zombies. I got to see video games live. I went and saw the Xbox and Nintendo lounges. Oh, no, I didn't see the Nintendo lounge. I walked by it. We went to Whiskey Girl and all the playtesting from Square Enix.
Mm-hmm.
On Sunday, we went to that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing. Turned out to be a bust, but, did what we could.
Yep.
Oh, and we saw Hollywood Babylon. Sounded like it was the highlight of the weekend for most of us.
To be honest, yeah.
I don't quite know what to say about that. So, I think 2015 is probably going to occur as planned. There's too many moving parts to deal with, but that doesn't mean they aren't already starting to fish around for 2016. V, I have no knowledge of Texas. Is there anything that can handle this scale and scope?
I have not much better. Probably stuff in San Antonio or Houston or Dallas even. Definitely not in Austin. We're already stuffed to the brim as it is whenever Austin City Limits comes around.
Oh, you can just treat it like sex with a black guy. There's always room. But they did announce badge prices already.
Really?
Individual nights for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are $50. Sunday and preview night are $35. So if you're trying to get a badge to everything, it's currently going to be $220, which is an increase of $20 from last year. So, some people would argue, well, that's about as much as Anime Expo would raise prices. Well, Anime Expo started at a much lower price point too. It feels like a greater difference when you're starting at 75 and suddenly you're at 85 versus 200 to 220.
Mm-hmm.
It's semantics. It also depends on what you deem as important. Some anime fans don't like comic books. I just happen to like both.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Steve. I know you haven't been to Anime Expo in a few years, but based on your last experience in Comic-Con, which do you think is a better value?
Honestly, it kind of depends on what you're into. I would definitely prefer going to Comic-Con, just because it's got all of my interests there, whereas Anime Expo is pretty much limited just to anime, and staff-wise and so forth, Comic-Con just, I mean, you can't even compare.
Yeah.
The level of customer service and everything there was just so much better. But I think if you are having problems with crowds or something like that, it's still better to go to the Anime Expo because they're just not as large.
I would say they're not as large. I'd say the crowding in Anime Expo is worse, though.
Really? I haven't been in a couple of years, so I don't know.
Okay. Close your eyes. Do you remember South Hall lobby? The big fan-shaped lobby out in the front there?
Yeah.
Okay, close your eyes,
Uh-huh.
and imagine that being shoulder to shoulder, about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way to the door.
Oh, really?
That's how 2 out of 3 days started. Or 2 out of 4 days started. The third and fourth day, I had other places to be, so I wasn't there when the doors opened.
Wow.
So, I'm almost... Yeah. There's rumors that the fire marshal actually forced them to stop selling badges. The official word from Anime Expo was that they hit their cap. The word that other people say is that the fire marshal said, "Fuck you, stop doing this." I don't know which to believe, because either one is likely. Last year's Anime Expo had some guests that people actually wanted to see for once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was a little bummed when I heard that Kawahara Reki was going to be there.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know which is true. I honestly, after being there for the last 3 years solid, I'd be surprised if the fire marshal hasn't said anything already concerning the crowding in that South Hall. It's bad before the dealer's hall opens, just because of all these people that are milling around like sardines. It wouldn't take much to cause major injury in that kind of situation. But back to the crux of the conversation, I mean, I don't know that Comic-Con can afford to move. I know their headquarters is in San Diego, and so is NBC's headquarters, which is the company that keeps putting up the money for the shuttle system. Comic-Con has not had to pay for a shuttle system in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
And the shuttle system it's not a bunch of school buses. These are all very nice chartered buses.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing that stops them from getting there on time is the fact that the gas lamp is already a crowded area to begin with. Now you're shoving an extra 130,000 plus in there, probably closer to 150 with all the ghosts and everything. Probably closer to 170, frankly, with all the employees that all these companies bring with them. So, the driving there is difficult. Walking is much easier during most times. There's specific times at the main street away from Comic-Con, I'm sure you guys can recall, you don't want to be on it. Remember 5th Street?
Oh, the streets are a blur.
The main street that headed away directly into the heart of the gas lamp?
Okay.
You guys remember that day we were all there, we went to get a sandwich, and it was
so
goddamn difficult trying to get anywhere?
Oh, man.
And Sharknado 2 guys, yeah.
And that fucking whistle. I don't know. I mean, if I was San Diego and I had to figure out how to come up with $520 million, I would honestly ask the businesses if they'd be willing to donate a certain amount per, and the same amount. If you could get a lot of the gas lamp district is so densely packed with all kinds of businesses. If you asked for a minimum of probably $300 per, you would come up with a serious amount.
Yeah.
And some people would argue, well, that's unfair. I would also argue $18 million per year from one event. Kind of need it.
I thought it was over $1 billion.
It's over $1 billion in actual commerce, but it's $18 million specifically to the city.
Yeah.
Over $1 billion changes hands over the course of 4.5 days. That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
When the city's chunk is $18 million, that's still very significant.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what else San Diego has. When I look up their yearly calendar, the biggest conventions they have after that are the occasional 30 and 40,000 business convention. I don't know anything else that approaches the size of this. So I would think it'd be very important to keep it. I know that since they stopped this project, the Chargers have come up with an alternative proposal. They want the city to build them a new stadium instead. And what they say is you can handle the overflow of conventions at this new stadium. They want to build it catty corner to the convention center, across from where Petco Park currently is.
Okay.
There's basically a bunch of parking lots and kind of
railroads.
Low-used railroads out there, yeah. The problem with that proposal, though, is that obviously they haven't read the study that says at large events, when they're planning to go somewhere, one of the most important things is contiguous convention space. So adding another building that people would have to walk to is not contiguous convention space.
No, at all.
You know, let alone, I don't know if they understand what that would feel like to have an average of probably about 50,000 people a day stomping on your grass. Do they have a concept of what that would cost them in landscaping?
A lot.
So this is not a good. It's not a good way for the city to go. Not unless that stadium is going to be built right next to the convention center, and there's no room on either side for that.
No, there isn't, because I mean they've got the marina in the background. They've got a hotel on one side, and they've got parking on the other side.
No, there's hotels on both sides, actually.
Yep.
There's the Hilton Bayfront on one side, the Marriott Marquis Marina on the other.
Ah, okay.
The only thing separating them is that park, and that's not enough space to build a stadium on.
No.
I don't remember what's out in the seascape behind it. I know that off most of it is the marina, like you said. There's nowhere behind it. There's the Marina Island, where Video Games Live happen, and the San Diego Symphony Orchestra plays. You can't move them. Unless they're going to build another man-made island out towards the Hilton Bayfront side where that port is, I don't think there's any room to even make a man-made island to either add to the convention center or add a stadium. A stadium would have to hold, 20,000 people?
Yeah.
Maybe the modern ones are closer to 30. Yeah, the modern ones I think are closer to 30. So, you would need a heck of a lot of real estate, even on the ocean front, to build this thing. Hang on. Oh, I'm sorry. I have that dead wrong. The recently built AT&T Stadium, Cowboy Stadium out in Dallas, that's an 80,000-seat place.
Okay, yeah.
So if the Chargers want something of similar size, you would need something to house 80,000 people.
I don't even know if you could put that in this city.
The way San Diego's built, it can't be downtown. You'd have to build it on the outskirts and inland, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's not where the Chargers organization wants to go. You know, they would probably argue that they deserve to be in downtown, frankly. The only way to do that would be to demolish Petco and give them no place to play probably for about 2 seasons. Total square footage on Cowboy Stadium, as an idea, is 2.3 million. Yeah, there's nowhere in downtown to build that kind of monstrosity.
No.
But that's a different problem. I'm sure the city's saying, well, you want a new stadium? Fine, win games.
Priorities.
Yeah, really. So, Comic-Con has some long-term problems. I don't think they have short-term problems right now. I would say if the city's smart, entice them to stick around while you work on a new expansion. Give them some kind of cost break or something. You might lose some money in the short term, but keeping them around long term, I'd say, is much more important. What do you think?
I'd have to look at the revenues from both, but yeah, I think realistically doing the convention construction and so forth would be a lot more feasible.
V, you've been kind of quiet. Do you have any opinions on this? I mean, this is...
I'm thinking, but I haven't really, the last convention I was at was a Star Trek convention and took place in a very tiny room, so just trying to imagine the scope of this is kind of...
Dawn, I'm looking forward to you seeing it next year, because I got Steve and Jesse's reaction, which was that silent, damn near mental shutdown as they're trying to take it all in.
I saw photos, and it did not prepare.
Very few things that can. I think the most amazing thing about Comic-Con is, given the crowding that goes on in the dealer's hall, it still amazes me how easy it is to move in certain sections of not just the hall, but in the building in general. You would think it'd be much harder than that.
Yeah, it just...
Certain sidewalks and walking areas suck. There's no way around that. But, I mean, when you're trying to get between panel to panel, there's an amazing amount of walk room up there.
Yeah. Actually, walking around upstairs was kind of nice, just to kind of get away.
Yeah. No, you ain't kidding. It's amazing. Out of all the anime conventions we've been to where registration is a bear, you go to a comic convention and registration is so fucking simple.
I swear.
Yeah, and it's twice the size of the biggest anime convention. I mean, fuck.
I mean, the amount of... I remember going to, like, the anime convention. They had, maybe 10, 15 computers?
Something like that, yeah.
This thing had, like, an entire hall devoted to it. There had to be at least 75 to 100 computers there.
But the thing is, it wasn't the entire hall, but it was definitely the first quarter of it.
Yeah, it was like, all manned, with extra people in the hall, in the aisles to make sure and point out, when one was free and so forth. I mean, they just had this complete system down that I wasn't even in... there was no line when I went to go register, and the longest part of the procedure was me trying to dig my wallet out so that I could show them my ID.
Sounds about right. Yeah, but I guess long story short, I don't think there's enough reason for them to move.
No, I don't.
Sorry.
Yeah. I
was going to say yes. There's not enough reason for them to move yet. If San Diego doesn't start something in the next couple months, it may be time for them to think about it.
Yeah. And if I was going to make a suggestion, I would hope it would be Las Vegas, because I don't want to go all the way to New York.
Yeah, I would just say, actually,
for me.
I would say it's worth repackaging. I'd say it's worth packaging. The tax is something I would say, and as it's not something that would affect the general populace. It's something that would affect mostly visitors. It's a tax on hotels. Put it up. At this point, it's worth the try just to keep it in town.
Yeah.
But hey, with a little bit of luck next year, the four of us plus Brandon plus my wife, we'll all be sitting there nerding out and probably sharing stories about people we nearly saw and maybe smelled their hair or something. George R. R. Martin smells like cookies.
I'd get a hand on Brett Dalton.
If she gets a hand on Brett Dalton, she will not have just a hand on Brett Dalton.
We may not see her for a bit.
No, we'll see her. We'll be the guys sitting in the back of her arrest video just going, no, I don't know her. No, you think we came? No.
Nice to see where you stand, Jeremy.
Are you kidding? That's the point where she tears away from the cops, busts the handcuffs, reaches around, grabs me by the neck, and then it's suddenly a wild woman from Texas suddenly started choking a black man in the middle of Comic-Con.
Right on page 3.
Brett Dalton watched and clapped. I think that's about enough for today. What do you guys think?
Sure. I feel like we were productive.
Yeah, and the recorder's still going.
Excellent.
Hey, it's on?
I'm sorry, have I said eat me yet? I think I said eat me. Next week we'll go through the first book of Annihilation. Who knows? If it's good, we may go through the second book. But I want to thank you for rolling with us again. Next week we talk cosmic junk, and I don't mean just mine.
No.
Have a great weekend. We will see you again. I am Jeremy.
Steve. Jesse.
And V.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go swing my cosmic junk around a little.
Oh my.
I think I'm going to go fix
You feel
myself
that, V?
dinner.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm in California. You feel that swing?
Food. Time.